The February 11th Planning Commission meeting is now called to order. It's 6:10, and it's this evening at 607 East Worthy Road in Gonzales, Louisiana. We're at the first floor of the Ascension Parish Courthouse. Roll call of members. All members are present and accounted for. Item 3, Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Jones, please lead us. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4, an introduction of staff. Ms. Stacy.
Stacy Webb, Recording Secretary for the Planning Commission.
Jarius Carey, Information Technology.
Spencer Long, Parish Attorney.
Eric Poche, Director of Planning and Development.
Tim Bullion, Planner.
Sean Chereau, Engineering Review Agency.
Okay. Thank you all. Item 5, we have a little bit of cleanup for some procedural from last month. We're going to have the election of officers for the 2026 service. And item 8 is the election of the chair for the Planning Commission. Do we have a motion or suggestion?
A motion.
Nomination.
Nominate Wade Shakespeare.
Okay.
Chair.
We have a nomination for Wade Scheck-Snyder. I will accept that nomination. Any other nominations? Okay. Oh. Okay, we have a nomination for Mr. Miller. Mr. Miller, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay, we have 2 nominees. Okay, at that point, we'll do a vote. Please, each person, you state your name. We'll do a roll call vote, and the person that you were voting for chair. Ms. Unitas, you lead us off.
Nick, since I nominated.
Okay, Mr. Miller. Okay, Mr. Villa.
Villa, Shakespeare.
Okay, Mr. Miller.
I'll vote for me.
Okay. Myself, Mr. Scheck-Snyder will vote for Mr. Scheck-Snyder. Commissioner Nasser.
Nasser, Scheck-Snyder.
Okay.
Jones Miller.
Okay. We have a 4-3 vote for Scheck-Snyder. That motion is passed. Item B, election of vice chair. Do we have any nominations? Okay. Okay, we have a nomination by Commissioner Kluwat from Mr. Nasser.
Yeah, I accept.
He accepts. Do we have any other nominations?
Mr. Miller.
Okay. Ms. Unitas nominates Mr. Miller. Okay, Mr. Miller, do you accept the nomination?
I will.
Okay. We have multiple nominations, and therefore we'll have a roll call vote. Ms. Unitas?
Mr. Miller.
Okay. Mr. Villa?
Nasser.
Okay. Mr. Miller?
I'm going to go with me.
Okay. Mr. Scheck-Snyder votes for Commissioner Nasser.
And Nasser's going to think about it and then vote for himself.
From Mac Nasser.
Jones for Miller.
Okay. We have another 4-3 vote with Mr. Nasser being appointed vice chair again. Thank you so much. Item 6, chairman's comments. Chairman has a few comments tonight. First off, thank you so much for coming here again. I know that a lot of y'all were here last time. It is not very often that we see a packed house. It is good to see the community take involvement in our process here in Ascension Parish, and we just want y'all to know how appreciated it is from members of the commission to see everybody's involvement. On a personal note, I have to tell everybody, I have to wish my mother happy birthday tonight, so I cannot get away with that. Furthermore, on the meeting, I just want to remind everybody, we're going to keep decorum. Everybody is going to be given their 3 minutes to speak. When you come up, your time will start, and you will be given your 3 minutes to speak. At the end of the 3 minutes, your microphone will be cut off. It's all automated. I'm not cutting anybody off. And we just ask that you stay on the topic. We have a lot of people here to speak tonight, and we want to hear you. Your voices will be heard. So what we also ask is that we hold very high decorum and no clapping in between speakers and no signs. I'll give a warning, a gavel, if it happens. If we have a second, we'll have an immediate recess, and we're just going to let this ride. But I just ask the audience to please respect everybody's time. We have a lot of people here, and we want everybody to have their time. And so please, no clapping, no interruptions, no talking. Let everybody get their opportunity to speak. After that, if y'all have any other questions, we're going to do our very best to answer them and make sure that your concerns have been answered and are heard and listened to. And we're going to move about our business. Mr. Nasser?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to take up item 13A, Eddie Morgan and Jared Morgan property, and move that to 11B because of the anticipated length of the public hearing for item 12B. I'd like to go ahead and see if we can get those other folks out of here.
Okay. I don't have an issue with just moving that around. Mr. Long, do we have any issues about reorganizing our agenda for that?
No, you can take up the agenda in any order you wish.
That's what we just want to make sure. Okay, do we have a second for that motion? Second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor of that? Aye. Okay. So let the record be shown that item 13A will be moved to item 11B, and we will address that part then. Item 7, public comment on any agenda item. As many of y'all know, we have a public comment period on items. If you have not had a chance, please get up and see Ms. Stacy and fill out a card on when you wish to speak. And at that point, whenever that time comes, you will be given your 3 minutes to speak, and have at it then. Item 8, staff report, subdivision status. Mr. Poche.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll see in front of you the normal monthly subdivision status report. There really haven't been any changes, except for what we have tonight. But if you have any questions about anything that's on there, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Okay.
I do have one question. You
Okay,
got
Mr.
multi
Miller.
villas,
Hold on, Mr.
asterisk.
Miller. Go ahead.
You've got multi-villas with an asterisk.
They have, their construction plans have been approved, and we're gonna have I'm glad you asked that. We're gonna have a pre-construction meeting on the 18th.
Okay.
Any other questions by the commission? Okay, we'll move on. Item 9, engineering staff report. Mr.
No
Shaw.
report this evening.
Okay, thank you. Item 10, the minutes. The approval or denial of the minutes of the January 14th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Villa, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No, I'm aye. I was slow raising my hand, but I'm an aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Item 11, public hearing to approve or deny the following family partition. A, Jeffrey Diaz property, lot C61A and C61B, Earls and Associates. Mr. James.
Thank you. James Fagg, representing Earls and Associates and the Diaz family on the following division of property, asking the commission for approval.
Okay. At this time, we'd like to open up a public hearing on this. Ms. Stacy, has anybody signed up to speak?
No.
Okay, we will close the public hearing on item 11A. Commissioners, any comments, questions, or anything?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Kluwat, second by Commissioner Nasser. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Item 11B, old business. Eddie Morgan and Jared Morgan property, track 6Z1A through 6Z1E, family partition. They're coming to us for a clarification of denial. Mr. Poche, can you
Yes,
enlighten us?
I will handle that. Last month at the meeting, I neglected to remind the commission that when the denial is given for an application, that each of the commissioners needs to give the reason for their denial, so that we can have that for the record. And that's why we're here this evening. So what we would ask is that you restate the motion and get the reasoning from each of the commission members, so
Okay.
that we can have that on record.
Do we need to have a public hearing on this?
No.
Okay. At this time, Ms. Stacy, do you have on record what our motion was? Or do we have that on record?
I made the motion.
Okay.
It's, I sent it to you. I don't have
Okay.
it with me.
Yeah, I mean, it was a motion to deny the application
Okay.
for the family petition.
Mr. Nasser?
Yeah, it was a very, very succinct motion.
Yes.
Motion to deny. That
Okay,
was the
but
motion.
we have to give a reasoning behind it.
Well, I was answering the first question.
Okay.
So I will say that my reason for making the motion to deny was that the entire process seemed out of order. They had lots that were for sale that weren't yet through the family petition. I did ask a number of different questions, and the responses were things like, that happened before I was involved, or I don't know. And I just felt that the application was not complete.
Okay. Do we have a second for that motion? Second by Commissioner Kluwat. Any discussion?
That wasn't a motion.
No, we had to restate the motion, but, okay,
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Kluwat?
My motion for denial was due to the same thing that Mr. Nasser said, and the fact that it didn't seem like a true family partition with the lots already for sale and a lot of work done out of order.
Okay. Let's go down the line for this. Commissioner Unitas?
I echoed the sentiment that everybody else is echoing. There was definitely some cart before the horse, and it didn't seem like it was a true family partition.
Okay. And just state that you are voting for
And
the,
I was voting for the denial.
okay. Commissioner Villa?
Yeah, it was denial for me because, like everyone's saying, the lots were posted for sale and it was a family, supposed to be a family petition, so that was my denial.
Okay. Commissioner Miller?
I voted to deny for the health, safety, and welfare of the parish and the residents in that area. I don't believe it was up to code to be able to proceed with that.
Okay. Commissioner Jones?
Denial due to the fact that I don't believe it met the criteria of a family partition, being the lots were already for sale before it was divided.
Okay. And the chair did vote on that, and the chair also echoed a denial vote, and for the same reasons that Commissioner Nasser stated. This was not in the spirit of a family partition. This was trying to bypass our general, it seemed to be trying to bypass our general subdivision ordinance. So, is that clarification enough, Mr. Poche?
I think so. Mr. Long seems to agree.
Okay. Thank y'all so much. Moving on to next order of business. Public hearing, item 12, public hearing to approve or deny the following preliminary plats. Item A, Arrowhead Industrial Park, first filing, major revision, CSRS LLC. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Zach Schmidt, here on behalf of the owner Harvest Companies. So this preliminary plat was previously approved in December. However, following that approval, there was some confusions on the conditions to construct the left and right turn lanes as detailed in the traffic study. So after discussions with Plan Director Poche, we thought it'd be best to bring the item back up to rediscuss the requirements on constructing the right and left turn lanes. So to recap, right now we're only requesting approval for the first filing. The traffic study actually analyzed the full development, which included filing 1 and a future filing 2. So right now, we're not requesting approval for filing 2 at this time, just filing 1. The results of the traffic study required a right turn lane for filing 1 once 175,000 square feet of buildings are developed on the property. And so our request would be that we only are required to install the right turn lane prior to 175,000 square foot of building being developed on the property,
Okay.
and defer the left turn lane improvement to the future filing 2.
Okay, Mr. Spencer, do we need to have a public hearing on that part?
Yes, this is a major subdivision change.
Yeah, that's what I
so
thought,
yes.
just wanted to make sure. Okay, at this time, we'd like to open up a public hearing on item 11, on 12A. Ms. Stacy, has anybody signed up to speak?
No.
Okay, public hearing on that portion is now closed. Mr. Poche, can you enlighten us?
Yes, sir. Basically, in the discussions, and you may have seen my little set of notes came through. I went through the discussion, the back and forth on the motions, and the majority of the discussion was based on what the DOTD or what the traffic study recommended. And the recommendation from the traffic study was that the First filing, when 175,000 square foot of buildings have been developed, was when the right turn lane would be required. And in the second filing, it would be warranted when 310,000 gross floor area square feet would be developed. You can do it either way. You can say, you can leave it as it is. You can say we would require you to do the right turn lane after the first filing and leave it at that. You can say we would do it after the first filing in the left turn lane before the second filing, final plat is filed. Or you can use the square footage. The main thing is that I thought that the discussions hinged around what the traffic study recommended, but I didn't feel that the final motion reflected that.
Okay. Do we have any discussion by the commission? Commissioner Nasser.
So we can go forward with this request as is, with the 175,000 and only one turning lane, and and the other turning lane won't be required until when?
Yeah, at 310,000 square feet.
I'm just going to state, with all due respect to you and your client, I'd like to get ahead of the game rather than behind the game and go ahead and do both of them now. I recognize there's a cost associated with that. I don't think the cost is such that it would kill the project. Turning lane it's expensive, but it's not that expensive. So that would be my preference.
If I could respond to that.
Sure.
So I think the biggest thing with this development is it is a speculative industrial development. So there are a lot of assumptions that are made within the traffic study on a certain amount of square foot that could be built on the property. But we do not necessarily have tenants lined up to build buildings on the property at this time. So only having to build the left turn lane based off 310,000 square feet, while it would be great that the development generates 310,000 square feet, it's not a guarantee. And so in our opinion, fronting that cost now to build that when we're not 100% sure we're going to reach that threshold is tough for the development to handle. And
Yeah.
Don't mean to interject, but.
And if you don't mind, just state your name, sir.
Yeah, Ty Gose, I'm the developer representing Harvest Companies. The big demand right now is laydown yards. And so that portion of Highway 30, I know that traffic's a really big hot button item. This is our third industrial park on the west side of where 73 crosses. And we've not had the traffic concerns or congestion that you experience on the east side. The trend right now is more laydown yards, which are significantly reduced trips than if you go into the LJ Grizzoffi Industrial Park where they're doing distribution, where there's trucks running in and out. These are metal building service companies. We're averaging about 7,000 feet of improvements per acre. Most of what they have is outdoor storage, and a lot of these groups just accommodate all the growth that's happening with those plants. So not a lot of people coming in and out because the employees are actually in the plants doing the work. This is just their home base where they store a lot of their equipment and materials, and they'll have some company meetings periodically. So we don't know how much footage will be there or what the actual traffic impact would be. We would really appreciate if we could stick with what the parish's traffic impact study requested, which was that right turn lane at 175, and we can withhold certificates of occupancy if necessary, whatever you want to do. We just don't know how much footage we're going to end up doing. So it would be really expensive to do the left turn now. But again, I think they recommended that at 300,000 feet. My hunch is we'll top out at 200,000 on this project.
Okay. Commissioner Miller.
I think that was a quote in a movie, huh? If you build it, they will come.
Hopefully.
If you speculated you're gonna get the 300,000 or whatever it was, the 14 lots, 15 lots, it's coming. We had extensive discussion about this last month where we said 2 turn lanes before any other building. So I'm gonna make a motion to deny your major revision there and stick with, you have to put both turn lanes in prior to, all in phase 1.
Okay, we have a motion now. am I clear in understanding that that motion is reflective of what our original motion was?
Yes,
So we-
basically, I would like to, you can say before the first filing final plat, or you can say before the first certificate of occupancy. Just have a clear definitive point at which you require them to have those turn lanes in.
Okay. So, but we just have, we just have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion, any further discussion?
Just a quick question for clarity. This was not our traffic study. This was a parish-driven traffic study and a parish recommendation that we're happy to comply with. The left-hand turn lane to kick this thing off is going to be troublesome to get the project started. On our current project, where we are now, there's lots that don't have buildings. They're just laydown yard. And the footage that's out there is far less than what we initially thought when we originally ran our same models that we were doing for this one. And so, again, it's a big number to digest in the first phase. And, respectfully, if we can follow the parish traffic study, that'd be really helpful for our project.
And real quick, Mr. Poche, can you just explain to the commission what the original recommendation of the traffic study was by the parish?
Recommendation, in the simplest terms, it was in the packet last month. Basically, they had phase one and full build-out. They had an eastbound left turn lane not required for phase one and a westbound right turn lane required, and then they had the left and right turn required for full build-out with phase one and two. I would be comfortable, and it depends on if you folks would be comfortable with telling them they had to have the right turn lane in before the first filing and the left turn lane before the second filing final plat. But that's up to y'all. But that would meet with what the traffic study recommended.
Okay. Commissioner Nasser?
Again, I understand the financial impact, and pulling together your financing for the project unless you actually have it already. It's like everything that comes before us, we listen to endless conversations about traffic, about our network substandard to support all this additional development, and it goes on and on and on. I'm looking at the West Bank right now. You've got Hyundai, you've got CF Industries, you have ASOL coming, you have 17,000 acres, and you don't have any transportation infrastructure. I don't want that to happen anymore. So that's the reason for my motion, and that's
Okay.
the way I'm going to vote.
Okay, we have,
I'm sorry. that was
Mr. Miller's motion.
Mr. Miller's motion.
Yep. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion by the commission? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, any opposed? That motion passes. Thank you. Item 12B, this will be a public hearing to approve or deny the following preliminary plats. Item B, Harvest Fields, MR Engineering and Surveying. And if you don't mind, please put the mic, bend the mic. Yes, sir.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Ross Bruce with Danton Bruce Development. I'm here with my business partner, Brian Danton, with Danton Bruce. We also have Mickey Robinson and Jonathan Bradley with MR Engineering, our civil engineers on the project. They are here with us as well. We are the applicants for Harvest Field subdivision. The subject property is 37.83 acres, consisting of 3 separate tracts of land. The current zoning on these tracts are MU2 and RM. We're proposing 115 home sites, which meets the parish's density requirements. We anticipate that level homes will be the builder of the homes in this community. As you can see in the table in the preliminary plat provided for you, we exceed both park space and upland park space requirements. We've completed a drainage impact study, and it's been confirmed. Our study substantially conforms to the requirements of the drainage impact study procedure, including in the subdivision regulations. The off-site drainage analysis has been completed and meets regulation requirements as well. The parish also hired ITS to complete a traffic impact study, the scope of which was completed by parish staff. The results of the study recommended improvements that include a two-way connection on LA 44, a northbound left-hand turn lane, and a southbound right-hand turn lane. We are agreeable to all recommendations from the study prior to final plat. Staff has concluded the project meets traffic ordinance. Additionally, in order to conform with the parish's street connectivity policy, we're proposing connection at Bull Weevil Drive. That is shown on the plat you have in front of you. Lastly, we have offered to build a 4-foot wide sidewalk within the parish's right-of-way on Cottonfield Avenue from Bull Weevil Drive to Cherie Street intersections. This is approximately 3,200 linear feet of sidewalk. This proposal is as a result of a suggestion from a parish official. We have received the final review letter dated January 13th, stating that all comments have been addressed and there are no outstanding items that have been deferred to the construction plan review that are typically handled during the preliminary plat phase. It is important to remember we are not asking for any waivers or variances of the Ascension Parish subdivision ordinance. We are complying with all the parish's requirements for preliminary plat, drainage, and traffic. Therefore, we believe this case is a use by right, and we ask for your support and a vote in favor of this preliminary plat. We appreciate the opportunity to present this case to you and look forward to working with the parish. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One small order of business. Commissioner Eric Jones will not be participating in anything on this, so he will fully abstain from any discussion or questions or voting on this topic due to a conflict of interest. At this time, we'd like to open up a public hearing. Yeah. 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 3 minutes. Okay. And just also one little reminder, when you come up here to speak, the commission is not going to engage in any back and forth. We're not going to be answering your questions when you come up and speak. We will write down your concerns and we will address them whenever it is our turn. So during this time, you're going to be able to speak. You'll have your 3 minutes. When the public hearing is closed, then there will be a rebuttal period for the developer, and then the commission will ask their questions, and we will discuss with administration and potentially the developer until we come up with a decision. So, but yes, at this point, Ms. Stacy, we're going to open up a public hearing.
Brian Hellensbeck.
Good evening, Councilman.
All right, keep short and sweet. Before this item proceeds, I need to raise a due process concern. I personally heard Commissioner Wade Shea Snyder state that he privately advised the developer on how to proceed with this Harvest Field subdivision. Because this commission is acting in a quasi-judicial capacity, that private advice constitutes ex parte communication and compromises impartiality. I respectfully request disclosure on the record and recusal from discussion and voting, as this conduct taints this agenda item and undermines the integrity of proceeding.
Noted. Thank you.
Todd Varnado.
Good evening. My name's Todd Varnado. In this case, the roadway network served the site is already constrained, and any meaningful mitigation depends on the future improvements of DOTD-controlled roadways. These improvements are not funded, programmed, or scheduled, or therefore cannot be relied upon to justify the approval today. Since Parish Codes does not allow subdivisions to be approved based on speculative future roadway projects. Additionally, where traffic mitigation involves DOTD facilities, the ULDC requires enforceable commitments and agency concurrence. Absent these commitments, there are no guarantee that the impacts created by the subdivision will ever be addressed. The Ascension Parish Master Plan further directs the development should occur only where adequate public infrastructure exists or can provide concurrent with development. Approving a subdivision that depends on undefined future road improvements directly conflicts with the policy and shifts the burden to the private development onto the public. Finally, and I would also read, in the case where existing, this is code 17-4060, section G. In the case where existing road level services is below a D, the required mitigation improvement shall improve all, keyword all, approaches, legs, and any elements within the development area to the level of service of D or better. And I think we can understand from the traffic study what that shows as it's stated currently. It may be different in 6 months, may be different in a year, but as it states now, it's pretty cut and dry. Also, finally, I would like to suggest to situations like this to highlight a broader issue we should begin addressing at the state level. In 2005, Florida adopted school concurrency laws, which require school capacity to be evaluated as part of the subdivision approval process. If schools cannot adequately absorb the additional students generated by this development, the subdivision would not move forward in these conditions in Florida. This is widely recognized as smart growth. Keyword smart growth is what we talk about. Every politician in this parish talks about smart growth. And ensure development occurs when infrastructure, roads, and schools alike can support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Powell.
Good evening. My name is Larry Powell. I'm 40414 Cottonfield Avenue. I'm asking the board to deny approval of the Harvest Fields development due to serious drainage and traffic concerns. Louisiana Civil Code Article 667 allows a property owner to develop their land, but it does not allow development that causes damage to neighboring properties. If a developer knows or should know their project will create harm and the harm could be prevented, they are responsible. And when a mandatory legal standards are not met, approving such a project may subject the decision to judicial review. The ULDC, Appendix 4, Section 17406, clearly requires that post-development runoff must not exceed pre-development conditions. That means that the developer must fully manage stormwater so it does not increase flooding risk. Jonathan Bradley over here claims that substantial compliance with the procedure, yet he also states that it needs to be revised. So which one is it? No updated drainage study has been provided for this meeting, and without sufficient detention capacity and complete drainage analysis, this application is incomplete. I also have serious traffic concerns. Proposed connection to Cottonfield, including Cherie and Woodland Avenue, was not designed to handle this level of volume. Increased traffic creates clear safety risks for the residents and children. Approving a project with known deficiencies put the community at risk. The Unified Land Development Code was adopted to protect the citizens of this parish, and those protections only work if they're enforced. When clear standards are not met, the responsible decision is to deny the application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana McGarren.
Oh, speak into the mic, please. Thank you.
Another serious issue is the physical feasibility of the proposed drainage pond in the field plan. To build this subdivision safely, the developers must raise large portions of the property above flood elevation. This requires an enormous amount of dirt, which is called fill. Based on the engineering calculations, the development requires approximately 73 acre-feet of fill. The developers claim this fill would come from the excavation of proposed detention pond, but that math doesn't work. The pond is only 1.38 acres in size. To produce enough fill, that pond would have to be excavated to impossible depths, more than 50 feet deep in some scenarios. That would place the bottom of the pond far below sea level and below surrounding drainage systems, which could prevent proper drainage and even cause reverse flooding. Even using conservative assumptions, the pond would have to be far deeper and far larger than proposed. This is a minor design issue. This is not a minor design issue. This is a fundamental physical impossibility. The Diverse Land Development Code requires that developers demonstrate a feasible cut and fill plan at the preliminary plat stage. That requires proof of grading and fill plans are realistic and achievable. A plan based on impossible math is not feasible. It cannot be built as proposed. Without a physical acceptable fill plan, the neighborhood cannot safely exist. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Wilson.
My name is Mark Wilson at 40299 Cottonfield Avenue. As the commissioners, y'all have the responsibility for the safety and welfare of this community with proposed buildings such as this subdivision that is being proposed today. There are deep concerns in traffic, drainage issues, along with lighting issues and roadway issues. None of the roadways we have around there are built to sustain this type of traffic. This needs to be addressed. Drainage issues, they mention it substantially conforms. Substantial does not conform. That means it's only a partial confirmation. The traffic would be backing up. It would be bad for the community itself. It would be bad for further development. This was mentioned earlier in a case that was presented to you. I move that this be denied on many avenues. Much of this has been stated. I certainly appreciate it. I hope y'all do the right decision and deny this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alex Giat.
Good evening, Commission. Alex Giat. I live at 40399 Cottonfield Avenue. When we were here last month, I talked a lot about the benefits that I derived from growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in. The community and the sense of togetherness that we enjoy, being so close down a safe road, is something that I hope anybody in my parish would be able to enjoy. But one notable distinction needs to be made here. This is not some sort of NIMBY campaign. We're not trying to deprive the broader community from the benefit of these of this development, of these more homes. This is just plain reckless development. I don't need a drainage study from the developer to know that building hundreds of more homes in my backyard will cause flooding over here. It's pretty clear that this plan would be reckless and that the damage and the detriment done to the people sitting behind me extend far beyond any sort of lack of, safety or property value or anything of that nature. Homes will flood. This will be detrimental to not only the people that live down my road and in my existing subdivision, but also for the hundreds of homes that will be built in the floodplain. So I ask that the commission do what's right. If you have any sort of conviction about protecting the welfare of your constituents, then I would ask that you deny this to keep our homes from flooding and to prevent the catastrophic policy failures of the 2016 flood from rehappening over again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Gina Billiot.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Gina Billiot. I live at 40064 Cottonfield. Good evening, committee members. This development places homes and access roads near high-pressure transmission pipelines. Federal safety standards define a potential impact radius around these pipelines. That radius represents the area where people could be injured or killed in the event of a rupture or explosion. Homes and primary access route for the subdivision fall within that radius. The developer has not provided any hazard mitigation analysis, evacuation planning, or safety assessment. This is extremely concerning. Louisiana law is clear on this issue. LA Revised Statute 33-101.1 prohibits approvals of subdivisions on land that is unsuitable for residential development due to safety hazards. This law exists to prevent placing families in known danger zones. Without proper safety analysis and mitigation planning, the parish cannot ensure that residents would be safe. Approving development in a known hazard area without safety analysis would violate the parish's legal duty to protect public safety. Under LA Revised Statute 33-101.1, this subdivision must be denied. Therefore, we implore you, us united, implore this committee to consider this when deciding on your vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
William Guidry.
Good evening. My name is William Guidry, and I live on Cottonfield Avenue. I'm not an engineer or a lawyer. I'm simply a homeowner who reviewed the publicly available plans, traffic study, flood data in Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code. What I find raises serious concerns about the compliance with the law and the protection of the health, safety, and well-being of the existing community. First, this subdivision does not comply with the current residential medium-density zoning. That zoning requires lots of 10,500 square feet, minimum widths of 70 feet, and a maximum density of 3 homes per acre. The plat proposes approximately 7,500 square foot lots and about 60 foot wide and exceeds the allowed density. No planned development rezoning has been approved by the Parish Council. Approving this plat would authorize development that does not comply with the existing zoning law. Second, the drainage requirements do not appear to be met. The application states that the drainage study substantially conforms, not fully conforms. This site requires significant fill, yet the plans do not show adequate compensatory storage as required to prevent increased flooding risk to the neighboring properties. In addition, portions of the plat appear too low to achieve the required 18-foot elevations within the parish's fill limits, which raises serious questions about whether the compliant construction is feasible without additional flood risk. Do we know if any of these low-lying lots will be required to be on pier and beam? Third, the traffic study confirms that the intersection of Highway 44 and Highway 931 will fail minimum service standards without this development. Parish code requires mitigation, yet no guaranteed mitigation exists. Cottonfield Avenue cannot serve this role. It is a substandard narrow residential street with open ditches, no sidewalks, and limited right-of-way due to the wide ditches. It cannot safely accommodate subdivision traffic, much less the through traffic bypassing Highway 44. The Commission's duty is to ensure that developments comply with the zoning, drainage, and infrastructure requirement before approval. These protections exist for a reason. This is not an opposition to growth. It is a request that growth follow the law and not place existing residents at risk. Based on zoning noncompliance, drainage deficiencies, and traffic failures, I respectfully ask that the Commission deny approval to the preliminary plat unless full compliance with Ascension Parish law is demonstrated. Thank you for your time.
Phil McLaurin.
Good evening. My name is Phil McElaurin. I live at 40359 Cottonfield Avenue. My main concern here is the flooding. My house butts up next to that property. I sent an email this week.
Hold on for a quick moment. It didn't catch you, sir. Go ahead, sir.
I sent an email to the planning group this week showing the pictures of the last rain event. My backyard, my next door neighbors completely underwater, the back of the field completely underwater. Then I drove to the front of the subdivision on Woodland and took a picture. Last 3 houses on the street completely underwater. So we already have drainage problems now. You build up the land behind me, we're going to flood. Thank you. I would like to deny this. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chris McGivern?
Good evening, Commission. Thank you for this time. I want to address everybody's favorite subject, which is traffic. I want to give the most single important issue, and that's traffic safety and the law that governs the decisions that need to be made here. Ascension Parish commissioned its own traffic impact analysis. That study confirmed that the intersections at Germany and 44, as well as Causey and 44, are already failing today. They're operating at a level of E and F. That means that they're already in severe delays in traffic. Delays are excessive. Traffic conditions are unsafe. That's even before this development gets going. The developer has not proved any real solution to fix this. Instead, they rely on speculation that Louisiana DOT might adjust some timing someday in the future. That's not an improved mitigation. It's not funded, it's not guaranteed, it does not restore safe traffic conditions. This is critical because Unified Land Development Code is very clear. Appendix 4, Section 17, 4060 G2 states that when existing roads are already below level service D and no feasible mitigation restores them to level D or better, the subdivision shall be denied. The word shall is important. It doesn't say can, it doesn't say may, it says shall. That means denial is required by law. This is not a policy preference. This is a legal requirement designed to protect the public from unsafe traffic conditions. Approving a subdivision that adds hundreds of daily vehicle trips onto roads that are already failing would make congestion worse, delay emergency response, and increase risk of accidents. The Parish own study proves that roads are already failing. The developer has not fixed it, and the law requires denial. For those reasons, under the Unified Land Development Code, Appendix 4, Section 17, 4060 G2, this preliminary plat must be denied. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Joe Roger?
How y'all doing, Council? I'm sure y'all remember me from the last meeting. I don't have to do no whole bunch of talking. I think my people in my neighborhoods did all the research required. I did a study on my own. I left my house at 5 o'clock. It took me 36 minutes to come down 44. And I turned on Causey Road just to come to this meeting. And this is before the subdivision is gonna be developed. So I'm just telling y'all, think about it hard, guys, really. Y'all live in a nice neighborhood just like me, all right? Y'all wouldn't want this no more than we do. Please reconsider. Please deny this. We don't need this.
John Demarell?
Good evening. Thank you for this time. John Demarell. I live on 40348 Woodland Avenue. And as I spoke last time we was here, I support and agree with everything that's being said here tonight about this neighborhood. I moved in 2001. My wife and I raised our family there, and we've seen a lot of development around this area, and that has changed the way it drains. And that is a main thing for me, because on our end of the street, we retain water. The traffic also, it's horrendous. I mean, another 115 more homes, over 200 more vehicles, it's not going to help the situation. We have an issue right now with our neighborhood, and it's been known to everybody who lives there since a week after our last meeting. We've had more attention from the parish in our neighborhood when it comes to drainage than I have since 2001. So that tells me that the parish knows we have a problem. And I would like for y'all to deny this development until our problem has been resolved and it is not going to affect us and our traffic has eased. So please deny this development until our problems are fixed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Walter Beach.
My name is Walter Beach. Thank you for having us here. I'm a paramedic, and I've been working on an ambulance for 37 years. And one thing as a resident of Ascension Parish is that your first responders aren't included in these response times. You have no idea how long it takes to get to a person. There's rumored that it took an ambulance 45 minutes in Ascension Parish to get to a patient. These come from the fire department people, the boots on the ground. I donate medical supplies to them, medical bags, because they're not funded enough. So before we keep on going and growing, you need to really look at the sheriff's department, the fire department, who's still, they're still volunteers. You know, you need to get serious with it. Give them the equipment they need to do their job. And the ambulance service is a qualified monopoly by this parish.
Mm-hmm.
It's legal. So who wants to work for a monopoly? Are you getting a paramedic on every ambulance? No. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jody Smith. I'm sorry. Jody Falcon.
Good evening, Council. Jody Falcon. Here today to formally ask you guys to deny this subdivision, really on the traffic safety and flooding, which most of my neighbors have talked about. The traffic impact study confirmed many of the intersections, if not all, but mostly the two next to it are currently failing. Additional traffic will only make it worse. There's no set timeline for a future highway expansion or any changes that's been approved. It's just kind of wishful hoping and thinking. And then considering an alternate route through our little neighborhood certainly isn't a mitigation plan. And the flooding concerns are pretty severe. The proposed detention pond is not sufficient in size to hold the water it's needed for the runoff. No soil testing. It's been mentioned that the pond may have to be 50 feet deep. There's no soil testing been done to confirm it could even be that deep, if that's even a possibility. And even more so, you've heard many times, substantial compliance is not compliance. So with those and many other factors, I ask you guys to deny this proposal.
Polly Glover.
Hey, Commissioners, good evening. Polly Glover. Of course, we all seem to know each other, so I'm going to be brief, and I'm not here to lecture you tonight on why we don't build in wetlands and we don't build in floodplains. I think the people behind me already know that, and I think you all do too. But I do want to give you a little bit of history, okay? First and foremost, I'm one of those old timers that was there when we started working on that little thing called the Ascension Master Plan, okay? I'm sure y'all are familiar with it. I also was fortunate enough to work on the Unified Land Development Code with some of you commissioners that are sitting up there tonight. But overwhelmingly problematic with this development, which is why these people are here and they need to have their voices heard, and why I do not support it, is because it makes no sense to put high-density development in a floodplain. If you know anything about Ascension Parish, you surely know we have a water issue. What you may not know, though, is that not only are they going to have a water issue, But further downstream, you're going to have a water issue when it gets choked up as it enters into the Amite Basin and eventually has to exit out through the watershed. So that's my comments on that. The other thing I want to address too, though, is that some of you commissioners, it's my understanding, are talking disparagingly about people that testify before you. Let me be clear. If you have a problem with my work in the environment, come say it to me. I'll be happy to discuss that with you. If you have a problem with people testifying behind you, do them the private and professional courtesy of not discussing their testimony amongst yourself. Again, I don't believe this project is consistent for passage, and you need to vote no, and you need to support the people behind you, right behind me, that are going to be impacted by this. Thank you. Good night.
John Lee.
As soon as this is over.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Thank you for your time. First of all, I want to tell you, as per the Ascension Parish Master Plan 2019, item 7, this project should be rejected. Also, as per, we've heard from a lot of folks saying, the Unified Land Development Code of Ascension Parish, is that words on paper? Is that something we're going to live by? So what I want to tell you tonight is this sets precedents. Okay, this is going to set legal precedent in this parish if you allow us to go forward. And you could probably tell I'm a little bit concerned over this in my stomach, and I can't talk well. So this does not meet code for flooding. My backyard floods. I'm at 40349. My wife sent the pictures of the flood in my backyard. I wonder if I can get through on Bro Road in my truck most of the times when it does rain. The traffic is horrendous. Yeah, you're going to try to do something on Highway 44. Well, how about Woodland? How about Bro? How about Causey? How about Cherie? And how about Cottonfield? All those roads are terrible. They are substandard. They are not built for the traffic we have now, let alone another 200 cars. So I want to reiterate the precedent that you're setting going forward. I tell you in my heart that I believe it is the fiduciary duty of this planning commission to oppose this project based upon your own codes of the Ascension Master Plan, the land development code that is in effect. And one thing, my wife sent I live right next door to Phil, he talked earlier, and we share the flooding problem. I opened the ditch and let the pasture drain now. So to mitigate any flooding is a joke. It's past my ankles in my backyard now when it rains. I'm wondering if I can get out in my truck, not in just a regular vehicle when I go down Bro Road. So Ascension Parish is one of the richest parishes in the state of Louisiana. Do y'all know that? Google says that, so it must be right. So Google tells us that we're one of the wealthiest parishes, top 3 anyway. So y'all Google that. I want to put that on record. I'm all for smart development. I'm all for development.
Thank you, sir.
But I'm for development with infrastructure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Jennifer Pencil.
Good evening. You know, just because you can do something does not mean you should do something. I'm Dr. Jennifer Pencil. I have 30 years in emergency management, risk management, hazard mitigation, threat analysis. And what I see here is, actually, I'm not even sure why we're here. Because There has not been adequate studies with drainage. There hasn't been adequate studies for the flood. There sure as heck hadn't been anything that has to do with mitigation. I haven't heard that at all. Oh, wait, as a matter of fact, when I did read, you know what the document said, and I know you've read them, that we'll do the planning during the construction phase. That's the craziest thing that I've ever heard. And I know that you're business owners up here, and I guarantee you that ain't how you run your business. You plan everything out. You forecast, you schedule, you project. There are timelines. So it doesn't work like this. So that has me really upset. It kind of leaves me and probably everybody else in this room with the thought that not a whole lot of consideration has been given to us and our properties about the risk and the threat that this is going to pose to our homes and our lives and our family. Let's talk about Highway 44. This development relies a lot on Highway 44, which is a state LADOTD highway. But the developer hasn't obtained the required DOT approvals for access, drainage, or traffic. These approvals aren't optional, they're mandatory. Appendix 4, Section 17405A requires coordination approval from outside agencies before the preliminary plat can be approved. This ensures that the infrastructure can support the traffic that's on it. Without that approval, the parish cannot legally determine whether the development meets safety and infrastructure standards. Now, let's talk about that servitude, bull weevil. That was assigned and dedicated over 30 years ago, and I guarantee you the intent was not to funnel 114, 15, 12, I don't even know what the number is, it changes all the time. It wasn't intended to put that many cars coming down our roadway. It wasn't that at all. I also know that precedent says that you could have allowed connection in the following subdivisions, but you chose not to: Windsor Place to Renwood, Windsor Place to Reserve at Willow Lake, the Lakes at Ascension to 621, Rivergate to the Parks at Dutchtown, Pelican Crossing to River Ridge, Manchac Place at Manchac, Cole Drive to Black Bayou, Belle Savannah to Crestview, the Meadows at Oak Grove to John Broussard. Y'all did not allow a cut through. You should not allow a cut through to Cottonfield. They've already discussed why. I'm going to say this again. Just because you can do something does not mean that you should do something. As a matter of fact, the city of St. George 2 weeks ago denied development for 2 reasons. Number one,
Thank you very much.
Aaron Kinsel.
Good evening. My name is Darren Pencil. I live at 40143 Cottonfield Avenue. My concern, amongst any, is about the flooding, whether this development can safely handle stormwater without flooding surrounding homes and property. This subdivision is extremely dense. Because of that density, it produces dramatic more runoff during storms. Engineering calculations show that during a 10-year standard storm, during a standard 10-year storm, harvest fields will generate approximately 4.67 million gallons of stormwater runoff. However, the developer's proposed detention pond can only hold about 2.7 million. That leaves nearly 2 million gallons of water accessed, nowhere to go. That water don't just disappear. It flows downstream into neighboring properties and drainage systems that are already under stress. The Unified Land Development Code does not allow this. Appendix 4, Section 17-406B and Attachment B require that post-development runoff must not exceed pre-development conditions. That means the developer must fully contain a properly managed stormwater so it does not create flooding problems. The developer's own design falls nearly 42% short of the required detention volume. Even more concerning, the drainage study does not include the required downstream impact analysis to show where this excess water will go or what damage it will cause. The developer claims their drainage study, and this has been said, substantially conforms, but the law does not allow substantial compliance. It requires full compliance. Without sufficient detention and complete drainage analysis, the application is legally incomplete and non-compliant, again under Appendix 4, Section 17-406B. Approving this subdivision in its current form would knowingly increase flooding for existing residents. The law requires protection of existing property owners. This application does not meet that requirement and must be denied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason Cassard.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jason Cassard, and I have a new violation for you haven't heard yet. The requirements of the ULDC regarding safety and density are not suggestions for developers. They are the contract between the parish and the citizens. Tonight, I'm asking you to enforce a contract the Ascension Parish government signed with the citizens. I'll start out with the most distinct violation of the ULDC. Appendix 4, Section 17-4032 is explicit. Subdivisions with 100 or more lots shall provide at least 3 access points. This application has 115 lots but only provides 2 effective access points. They are missing a legally required third exit for emergency egress. This application violates the density safety threshold explicitly written in the code and must be denied on this fact alone. Number 2, the developer attempts to satisfy their second exit requirement by dumping 115 new families onto Cottonfield Avenue. This creates a dangerous condition because Cottonfield is a dead-end trap with 64 lots and only 1 exit. It is legally non-conforming. We couldn't build Cottonfield subdivision today by the ULDC. So even if they go down to 99 homes, you wouldn't want to add 10 homes to Cottonfields today. We're already at the limit. You couldn't add another one. It's legally non-conforming, even worse. Our road's only 19 feet wide with open ditches, no sidewalks. I don't even know where they will put this 4-foot sidewalk they promise. All the service is right on the ditch. While Harvest Fields roads are 27 feet wide, curb to curb, you're forcing pedestrians and 1,000+ daily car trips onto a substandard narrow road. You cannot cure a lack of access in a new subdivision by overloading an unsafe road in an old one. Furthermore, regarding traffic, the traffic impact study admits that even with proposed turn lanes at intersection LA 44 and Germany Road will fail operating at a level of service of F. This violates the Parish traffic impact policy, which sets a goal of LOSD. You cannot approve a development you know will cause gridlock. The mitigation fails to meet the Parish standard, so the application is invalid. On the issue of zoning, the proposed 6,250 square foot lots. The zone requires 10,500 square foot lots. It's 40% reduction without a PUD overlay. To put this in perspective, our lots are 24,300 square feet. They're placing quarter-sized lots next to ours directly against our property lines with no defined buffer. This violates ULDC Section 17-2081, which mandates a protective buffer yard between incompatible uses. Finally, the engineer's own review admits that the drainage design will need to be revised to meet the code, and the staff analysis says the traffic will have to be analyzed later. You are being asked to approve a plat based on a promise of future compliance, not proof. If the ponds need to be bigger to meet the law, this layout is invalid. You cannot vote yes on an admittedly incomplete application. Commissioners, this application fails on traffic, drainage, zonage, and procedure. The ULDC is a law. We ask you to honor your contract with the citizens and deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Toby Petty.
Hey everybody, Toby Petty, 15337 Highway 44. So I own the land on the north side of where they want to build this new subdivision. 2 of my family members have decided to sell their land, and I respect their decision, but I have a couple of concerns. Right now, everything pretty much just drains towards the big ditch, the Burt DeLone lateral. So if you build a subdivision in between my land and the big ditch, I'm not sure how my land will drain, you know. I don't want my land to turn into a swamp. I would like to build a house on my land one day. Also, they want to build 17 houses along my property line. I don't want them to be able to use my land as an extension to their backyard. And another thing, anybody could drive to the end of Red Snapper Drive and have access to the backside of my property. I don't like that, so I would like the developer to build a fence in between my land and this new subdivision to stop trespassing. Thank you.
Jeffrey Nolan.
My name is Jeffrey Nolan. I live at 40193 Cottonfield Avenue. I reserve all rights to seek administrative and judicial review on any decisions made here tonight. An attorney friend of mine told me, never ask a question in court that you don't already know the answer to. My question is simple. Why now? The proposed development has sat there for generations because it's low and prone to flooding. Even during the 30 Wild West years of parish growth, this tract was left alone. If it is unsafe then and still sits in a flood zone, why build high-density housing here today? Why now? Ascension Parish enacted a building moratorium in 2021 because growth was outpacing infrastructure. It stayed in place until 2023. The ULDC and master plan were rewritten to stop high-density subdivisions in flood-prone areas. If we strengthen the law to prevent this exact project, why ignore it all the work now? Why now? The master plan requires new neighborhoods to, quote, be in harmony with the character of the existing neighborhoods. That's master plan page 7. It also discourages high-density development in flood-prone areas because it creates more runoff, which contributes to flooding. Master plan page 3. If the master plan says this land is the wrong place for high-density development, why consider putting a plat that contradicts it? Why now? The ULDC in the master plan warns that incompatible development reduces adjacent property values, especially when the high-density lots sit next to a large neighborhood. ULDC 17302A. If the code warns against this exact situation, why approve it? Why now? Approving this development sets a precedent. If you approve this high-density construction in a mapped flood zone, every future developer will demand the same treatment. How will the parish deny the next one without being accused of acting arbitrarily? Why now? When the parish follows its own laws, the land is not worth developing. The floodplain, the drainage limits, the master plan all point to the same conclusion. High-density construction here is unsafe, incompatible, and economically irrational. Why now? Deny this plat and protect our safety, our property values, and the parish from future lawsuits before the precedent is set. Act now.
Thank you, sir.
Ray Mook.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate y'all showing up tonight to put this ahead in front of you. I know you're trying to help the developer as well as the citizens too, and I appreciate both of those. I mentioned before at the last meeting that for Cottonfield to be approved, they had to have an outlet going to Bro Road. Al Robert went as far as to put the pilings in Black Bayou, and then someone had to pull them back out. So if it didn't work then with the water flow, I know that an outlet wouldn't be feasible today. The other thing I wanted to mention was that on Woodland Avenue, I live at 40201 Woodland. Woodland Avenue, every car in Cottonfield comes by my driveway, and if they turn left to go to Bro Road, the speed limit's 25 miles an hour there. Likewise, it is in Cottonfield. But the only problem is our lots are bigger than Cottonfield. I've got 2.5 lots that back up to my lot. And the reason I'm saying that, with the large lots and the 70-foot building line off the road, it creates a situation where the drivers are trying to maintain 25, but it appears they're out in the country, not in a little subdivision. And naturally, they all want to speed up, and that's a public issue there, and I'm very concerned about the public with that in mind. And A neighbor asked me to ask y'all, that she had mentioned something about they had the opportunity to have two inlets, outlets, or whatever on 44, so why would they even consider coming through our subdivision? And again, I want to thank y'all for everything you've done, and if y'all wouldn't have approved our subdivisions previously, we wouldn't be here tonight. But thank you very much.
Dana Lejeune.
My name is Dina Lejeune. I live at 40074 Woodland Avenue. I'm here again to ask Ascension Parish Planning Commission to deny Harvest Fields the right to access our subdivision, Woodlandshire and Cotton Fields, as this is not going to be their highway throughway. All the other subdivisions around us have been built up and made us the bottom of the bowl, with all their water running down to the end of Woodland Avenue. I already have issues with the water. I surely don't want an issue with more traffic.
Oh, hold on.
Using
Ma'am,
this as a
Ms.
cut
Lejeune,
through.
Hold on, please. For some reason, you got cut off, and I know that wasn't your time. Okay, go ahead, please, I'm sorry.
The traffic on Highway 44 will start using this as a cut-through to avoid the traffic light at 42 on Causey Road. Last week, on Wednesday the 3rd, it rained 2 to 3 inches according to the weatherman. Well, the entrance of Woodland Avenue and Bro flooded over the road, as it always does, shutting down that entrance. On Thursday and Friday, Ascension Parish had 4 trucks and equipment out there trying to get the flood waters down. The blocked access to this entrance was for 3 days. This was due to blockage of a culvert underground. I took pictures of that and what the road was and what my backyard looked like, a lake, and I turned them in so that y'all can view them now or later. Me and my husband, we've been there since 1985. We are both cancer patients and both retired. We're not able to move and relocate. We're not medically able to deal with our home flooding either. We have worked hard all our lives to get what we now own. We're not saying the parish can't grow, but it should not interfere with the neighborhoods that are already established and have been there in existence, as mine has for 40 years. My evidence is in the pictures. Fix the drainage problems first before allowing any more growth. Please say no to Harvest Fields intruding into Cotton Fields and Woodlandshire. Leave our homes and neighborhoods alone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rowan Taylor.
My name is Rowan Taylor. I am 10 years old.
Oh, Mr. Taylor, if you don't mind, can you adjust the mic for you so we can hear you? There you go, buddy. Thank you.
My name is Rowan Taylor. I am 10 years old. I live in Cottonfield Avenue. I love living here because my friends live here. I got a bike for Christmas, and my parents let me ride by myself to visit my friends at the end of the neighborhood. I know they let me do this because our neighborhood is small and safe. I don't want the developers to make my neighborhood bigger. If the neighborhood gets bigger, there will be more cars driving through it. It won't be safe for me to ride my bike on my own. Every morning before school, I see a bunch of elderly neighbors walking and running for exercise. I don't think it will be safe for them either, so please vote no and don't let my neighborhood get bigger and busier. Thank you, Rowan Taylor.
Mark Taylor.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Mark Taylor, and I urge you to deny the preliminary plat for the Harvest Field subdivision. This development directly threatens the health, safety, and welfare of our community. The applicant's own traffic impact study documents clear violations of the mandatory standards in the Ascension Parish Unified Land Development Code, Appendix 4. The code is unequivocal. Developments shall avoid adverse impacts on traffic and safety or shall be denied. First, the traffic impact study fails to meet required scope. Section 174060 demands comprehensive analysis of all proposed access points, entrances, and key off-site intersections where the project adds significant volume. The preliminary plat shows 2 entrances, yet the TIS evaluates only 1, completely omitting Cottonfield's entrance. It also ignores critical downstream intersections like German Airline, Causey Airline, which are already severe bottlenecks controlling outbound traffic from Highway 44, Germany Road, and Causey Road. These omissions violate the code and leave serious safety hazards unexamined. Second, the traffic impact study confirms worsening or already failing conditions. The ULDC requires no adverse impact on the network, maintaining level of service D or better at studied intersections and movements. If the project causes level of service to drop below D or worsens an existing sub-D condition, mitigation shall restore D or better across affected approaches. The study shows that Germany at 44 already operates at a level of service EF in peak periods, and Causey at LA 44 reaches level of service E in the afternoons, even without harvest fields. By 2027, projections both intersections fail in the morning afternoon peaks regardless of development. No feasible mitigation by the developer or anyone can restore level of service D. Appendix 4, 174060 G2 states that explicitly a development shall be denied when the traffic impact analysis shows it will overburden the system by reducing service or when sub-D existing conditions cannot be improved to D or better. Finally, the proposed mitigation is inadequate and non-compliant. The traffic impact study shows only vague suggestions of future DOTD signal timing under actual conditions and an uncertain, non-committed measure that fails the code's requirement for specific developer-funded improvements implemented before approval. Commissioners, the ULDC does not merely permit denial in these circumstances, it requires it when unmitigated traffic impacts threaten public safety and welfare. Approving this plat would violate our code and place short-term profit above the long-term safety of our residents and safe roads. One last question is on the underlying density at residential medium intensity. Appendix 4, Section 174020 explicitly states no major subdivision will exceed a gross density allowed by the existing and underlying zone. I'm curious about the math and how that worked out and how you ended up with so many houses inside of that small area. That's RM. Lastly, I want to thank you for your time and attention and appreciate your service to this commission.
Josephine McElroy.
My name is Josephine McElroy, and I've been living in Cottonfield subdivision for 35 years. And we had a very safe and loving community. And we're able to walk. The children are able to ride their bikes, and the people are able to, I'm very nervous, ride their golf carts. And we just wanted to stay safe, you know, because we are a very loving community. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Margaret Bonacari.
I've been a resident in Ascension Parish for 42 years, and I've lived in Cottonfield for 1 year. I moved here because I was looking for a community that would be safe and did not flood. Where I lived before, I was 9.5 foot off the ground, and I saw the floods coming and coming and coming because the back door of my house was Bayou Man Shack, 6 miles away from where I live now. They put a subdivision in there, and they built it up 5 foot with dirt. We saw it come and come and come. They put big ditches. That subdivision flooded in 2016. Sure, they made it safe. Did they? No. They made it worse, just like a lot of the other subdivisions in the area. Please consider what you're doing to us. This is a beautiful place to live, where I live now. The people in this neighborhood are family-oriented. I can walk the streets. I feel safe. I feel as though I don't have floodwater coming in my home anymore, which was my concerned for moving. It took me 4 years to find this home. The subdivisions I looked in were overcrowded. Cars were parked all over the roads, and it was a horrible situation to buy a house. We don't need to have this coming into our subdivision. If it can maintain itself without coming through our neighborhood and not bring floodwaters, sure, development cannot be stopped. But we don't need extra water and the trees and things. This was a pasture land. This was not meant to have homes on it. Same with Manchac Crossing. It was pasture land. Thank you. Please do not do this.
Nathalie Bagwell.
Good evening. I'm Natalie Bagwell. I'm not an expert. I'm just a concerned resident here to speak on behalf of my neighbors and in opposition to Harvest Field's development. My comments tonight focus on the Unified Land Development Code of Ascension Parish and the documented infrastructure guidelines in Appendix 3, Section 17-303. Sorry, I'm very upset after hearing everyone tonight and everyone's concerns, and that it even has made it this far without substantial evidence to help with their case. But the master plan is clear. Development should occur only where existing infrastructure can safely support it. That includes our roads, our drainage system, and our utilities. And as outlined in detail by all of my neighbors' speeches before me, this infrastructure is already failing to meet those standards. The roads do not meet required traffic thresholds. The drainage system is already strained, and the utilities in this area are not equipped to handle any additional demand. The master plan was created to prevent this exact situation, adding growth where the infrastructure is already overburdened. Appendix 3, Section 17-303, it specifically prohibits approving developments when the infrastructure cannot safely accommodate additional growth. Approving the subdivision would go against the parish's own adopted planning policies. The master plan is not a suggestion. It is a legally adopted policy for responsible, safe, and sustainable growth. Ignoring it would undermine the parish's commitment to protecting residents and ensuring a development occurs where it can be supported. For these reasons, I respectfully ask that this application be denied and that the developer does his due diligence. Thank you.
Jo Beth Federick. Ian Smith.
Good evening. My name is Ian Smith. I live at 40176 Burtville Road. Everyone who spoke already has brought up all the ordinances, all the land development code, so I won't belabor that point. But I did want to bring up, to the best of my knowledge, none of the traffic studies that I've seen have addressed Burtville Road. My best information is I know we only have about 48 to 50 homes on our road, but we already are seeing increased traffic, cut-through traffic, people using our road to bypass the backup on Highway 44 since the building of the high school and of the other subdivisions that have been built in the area recently. I didn't plan to come and speak tonight just to show up and support or to be in opposition to the approval. But on the way here, I sat for 3.5 minutes to turn out of my road onto Highway 44 just to get here and experience bumper-to-bumper traffic from my house on Burtville Road pretty much the whole way here. Just 5 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. So the traffic in my area alone is gotten, in my experience, exponentially worse. Also, I have 4 small children. And just a few years ago, my wife would be able to walk on the road with them and was fairly comfortable doing that even in the middle of the day. We do homeschool our kids, so that's something that she's aware of. In the middle of the day now, we have through traffic. It's not, gridlock, but we have through traffic all day now. And you're going to put 115 homes less than, by my guesstimate, less than 100 yards, the main entrance of the subdivision from Burtville. We are the closest road to the main entrance of this subdivision based on my reading of the map. Like I said, I'd be happy to be corrected if I'm wrong. I saw no study or analysis of Burtville or what the impact on that road would be. But I know for a fact that if Germany and Causey are failing, what they're projecting, I know we would fail as well. People are already using our road as a cut through, like I said, to cross from 44 to Joseph Ario to bypass traffic, and that's only going to get worse. As far as the flooding, in 2016, my home didn't flood. Our lot is in the middle of the road. The end closest to Joseph Ario did flood, or at least there was substantial water at that end that was encroaching on homes. The end close to 44, there was some water there. I don't know if any of those houses flooded. I believe one did. Just looking at the maps, the floodplain studies, I'm more than confident that we would see water coming from that end as well, across 44, because of that development. So I will just say, please deny this application. If we're going to build, we need to have everything covered before we approve further development. Thank you.
Thank you.
The following filled out speaker cards not in support, but do not wish to speak.
Emmett Taylor, Downell Borey, Amanda Taylor, Scott Ortego, Chris Odom, Tom Ortego, Caleb Ortego, Denise Ortego, Sonia Gurley, Jeffrey Bourgeois, Danette Bourgeois, Cody Guidry, Sebastian Billiot, Louise Harrell, James Harrell, Shane Burkett, Henry Guidry, Adam Guidry, Lisa Guidry, Callie Gotro, Debbie Corns, Jim Hathcott, Delane Hathcott, Noah Hathcott, Madeline Hathcott, Grace Hathcott, Todd Evans, Wayne Bourgeois, Brandy Petrie, Kim DeLon, Kevin DeLon, Cody Knockin, Jesse Knockin, Carly Babin, Charlene Rentz, Bert Rentz, Paul and Melissa, no last name, Ricky Lambert, Luke Steers, Franny Guillot, Steve Guillot, Bonnie Poirier, Pamela Wesweber, Keith Ashford, Mary Ashford, Trish Jones, Bill Jones, Yvette Frozy, Beth Wilson, Callie M., sorry, Jenny Herzer, Corey Hebert, Robin Bouquet, Daryl Abrams, Wanda Ward, Brenda Demerell. What you think? Anthony C., Deborah C., Patricia Borey, Carolyn Bro, Larry Bro, Renee Cole, Jasper Cole, Lindsay Falcon, Dylan Boudreau, Christopher McGivern, Melissa Lee, Melissa Cassard, Sheila Anderson, Jarrell Fontenot, Carmen M., Jesse M., Billy Demerell, Robert Demerell, Matthew Hutchinson, Lisa Abrams, Logan Milano, Corey H., Kristen Herzer, Blake Babin, Daniel Graham, Jillian Graham, Christina Odom. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Is there anybody in the audience who did not fill out a card who wishes to speak? Please come see Miss Stacy.
Actually, we have more. We have more.
Okay.
James Toten, Cheryl Toten, Kelly Frederick, Brad Rivet, Ian Smith, Julian Rivet, Amy Delaney, Michelle Pransky, Marshall Frederick, he'd like to speak. Can he speak?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Frederick, please approach.
Thank you, all. My name is Marshall Frederick. I live at 40319 Cottonfield. I heard the developer's proposed solution or mitigation for this, a sidewalk. I don't think one sidewalk is going to fix these problems. All this traffic, a couple hundred cars trying to come down Sharon Hills, a sidewalk's not going to do it. That's all I got to say.
Chair, we have more names that wish
You okay?
that.
Please.
These are the names that are not in support and wishes not to speak. Claire Delaney, Billy Pransky, and Leah Pransky. Those are all the names.
Okay. One last time, is anybody who has not signed up to speak or fill out a card, please do so now. And if you want to speak, we will be giving you your time.
Okay. You want this separate, right?
She's not speaking, not in support.
Okay.
Heather Strickland.
Yes, ma'am. And one more gentleman. Well, still give them the opportunity. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. They wish to speak? Okay.
Well, we can continue.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna cover it, yeah.
These,
The last name?
Bo Nickel, Charles Strickland, and Austin Tanner.
And they are in opposition and do not wish to speak?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we're going to close the public hearing. We will be having about a 15-minute recess. Let everybody have restroom breaks and all that, and we will reconvene at 8:05. So thank you. This is recess. Secretary. So are we back on? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. We are going to come back from recess and continue with the meeting. Before we continue, we got a few things we want to address. There was an accusation this afternoon about the chair having an ex parte communication with the developer. I want to address that. I think it's important to address it. Yes, I did meet with the developer and had discussions regarding the plat prior to the agenda. I made some suggestions and for regulatory purposes. So that is allowed. That is something that has happened over many years. Under no circumstance that I think that was inappropriate. I stand by my actions. Furthermore, I would still participate in the discussion of the events tonight. However, since we have only 6 members of the commission voting tonight or able to vote due to one commissioner abstaining, I will not be voting tonight as pride of the chair, so as not to potentially cause a tie in any vote. So I just want everybody to know that. To continue, we're going to go with the rebuttal period, and we'll invite the developer to come up and have a 10-minute rebuttal period.
Mickey Robertson, MR Engineering. I'm going to handle some of the rebuttal, and then Mr. Bruce is going to take over and handle some of it after that. I'd like to start with, I'm not going to go itemized through each person's comments that they made. I'm going to kind of summarize them into traffic, drainage, connectivity, because they kind of a little repetitive, and so they, really everybody kind of touched on the same issues. There were roughly about 30 people that spoke, and they all really touched on a lot of the same issues. So I'm going to kind of just take them in categories as traffic, drainage, and zoning. Just real quickly, I'm just going to go through the process with the traffic study is that, when you're contemplating a project, you have a pre-application meeting with the parish, and they provide a scoping meeting in terms of what the traffic study has to account for. That's what happened in this case. We had a scoping meeting. They provided a scope of what the traffic impact study had to include. The developer has no control over that. The parish hires a traffic consultant. The developer is only required to pay for it. So after paying for the traffic study in advance, the traffic study was conducted. There was an extensive study done. The study made recommendations. It was, reviewed and approved by staff. And it said that the TIA, it concluded that a right turn lane would be required in the southbound direction, left turn lane would be required in the northbound direction, and we agreed, the developer has agreed to construct those improvements. The parish has agreed that the traffic impact study that was provided meets the traffic impact policy to the letter. In addition to the traffic impact statement, we have also applied to DOTD for an access permit. We have received a letter of conditions approving our driveway access as we have it shown, with the conditions that we construct the 2 turn lanes as we just went over. So the developer has approved that, and that will be handled during the construction plan phase. So the TIA's policies set forth in ULDC Appendix 17 4060 G2E have been met, and the DOTD approval has been acquired. So, in terms of traffic, the other thing that occurred, there was some mention made of the traffic impact document study did not include the Cottonfield connection. If you could look at the timeline, that connection didn't come about until after the traffic impact study was completed, and the development still met the requirements of the policy without the connection. The connection was not an engineering function. It was a planning function in order to comply. And I kind of want to make sure I get the right section of the code here. Sorry, let me get my notes in front of me here. 174032B, is the section out of the code that talks about connectivity. What subsection 5 and 5A of that policy says is that the Planning Commission and the Director of the Department of Planning in consultation with the parish engineer, may also modify standards in subsection C if compliance with access and connectivity will not result in greater community benefit as intended by this section. So I just want to make it clear that our initial submittal didn't have the connection to Cotton Field. That was requested at a later date. It was something in excess of what already worked in the development with the Highway 44 connection. And so we were not requested to update the traffic study, but we also, wouldn't be required, or we don't feel like we have to have the connection in order for our project to function properly in terms of traffic. So that's our take on, what's going on with traffic. The other thing is, there's been a lot of mention about level of service and intersections, and the way the policy reads is that if the development does not cause a drop in the level of service, and you have an intersection that is already at a failing level of service, then the traffic impact study should just make recommendations on how to improve that so that the parish might include that in future projects. That also happened in the traffic impact study, made recommendations on the timing. I agree that it is not speculative, it may or may not happen, but that is what the policy requires, is that the study make those recommendations, but that as long as the development doesn't degrade the intersection and drop the level of service, then it has met the terms of the traffic impact policy. There's also, I'm going to jump to drainage. Been a tremendous amount of confusion here about drainage. The reason I say that is because on the face of the plat, there are actually 4 ponds. And so I'm not sure why everyone has zeroed in on this 1.3 acre pond. In addition to the 1.3 acre pond, there are 3 other ponds scattered throughout. There's also improvements that are going to be made to the Burt DeLone lateral. It's going to help with drainage, and it's going to a lot of that area is going to be lowered. And some of the numbers that we have seen in terms of the required grading, it appears someone just took 38 acres. There's a 2 acre pond. There's 36 acres left, and we're going to raise it all 2 feet. And so that's how you end up at 73 acre feet. That is not the case as far as the requirements of Ascension Parish. The entire site does not have to be raised to an elevation of 18. As part of the off-site drainage analysis, the conveyance check, the months and months of reviews that we went through for the drainage review in terms of the drainage study, a grading plan was provided to the parish, and it was reviewed to properly grade the site and not just raise the whole site 2 feet. That's not how it occurs. In terms of some quick numbers, what the drainage policy actually requires you to do is to take a 50-year storm, so this is, a 50-year storm, and reduce it to 90% of a 10-year storm. So you're taking something 50-year, 10% reduction in the 10-year storm. So what those numbers look like is that we've taken 76 CFS and we've reduced it to 64. So we have actually reduced the drainage coming off the site by about 16%. So we've made the situation better with the drainage study. There has been some comments about these buzzwords, substantially complies. This is really part of a standard letter that comes from the review agency. It's stated in that fashion because the drainage design is still in the preliminary plat stage. This will continue to refine that, the drainage design as you go through the construction plan phase, and you will be able to.
Hold on, Mr. Robertson.
That's right.
Please, the audience.
That's right.
Please hold your comments. You had your time to speak. Please be respectful. Your comments were mentioned. Your comments were heard. This is their uninterrupted time, and we just ask that y'all respect that.
Thank you. Thank you. So, you continue to refine the drainage design as you go through construction plans, and you provide, how you're actually going to build it. At this point, it's conceptual in nature, but the preliminary plat checklist also has certain criteria that you have to meet. And so, when this is, I hate to minimalize it and say they didn't do a drainage study. We spent 3 or 4 months, back and forth with the engineering review agency and staff, working on this drainage study and refining it such that we met the requirements for our preliminary plat stage. So at this point, we have met the requirements for the drainage study at a preliminary plat stage. I want to point out that the 4 ponds are roughly about 3.3 acres, and there's another about a 4/10 acre pond that's existing out there. And this whole process is part of what the parish did after 2016 when they made the commitment to spend millions of dollars in having the parish surveyed, modeled, and coming up with a drainage model that is by far the best program that we use in any municipality we deal with, and it's also the most stringent of any municipality that we work in. We work from Texas to Alabama, and this is one of the most stringent drainage requirements that we have to deal with, and it's also one of the most thorough. It's not just a couple of numbers on a paper. One other thing is there's been a lot of mention of the development being in a flood zone. There is roughly about 25% of the development that's in a flood zone, and the majority of that is in the Bert DeLone lateral. It's in the ditch. There's only 7% of the site that's actually in the flood zone, and it's at the very lower end in the area that's mostly green space and detention ponds. Fairview has a couple of houses right at the back of one of the streets that might have a little bit of piece in the flood zone. Pipeline safety is another thing. We are aware of the 3 pipelines that are there. We have been in touch with Marathon, Shell, and Boardwalk. We've received their requirements. It's a routine crossing. They had no issues with it. We've designed dozens of these crossings over the years. It seems to be, it wasn't a concern for them. So it wasn't anything for us to stop and say, this development can't happen. There's existing development all up and down the pipeline, that these pipeline companies are used to dealing with, and it's not an issue for anything for what we have done in the past. We talked about DOTD approval already, that we've received their approval for our driveway.
Okay. That's your 10-minute time. Yep. I'll give you just 3 more minutes just to cover this.
Let me go.
Just to address their comments. You got those 3 minutes.
Thank you. On the issue of due diligence, we've spent about 8 months and nearly $100,000 on due diligence. We take this seriously. We know the only way to get projects approved in Ascension Parish is to be very thorough and do extensive due diligence, and we don't take that responsibility lightly. We know not to bring projects before this commission that doesn't meet code. You've heard things such as known deficiencies, reckless, safety hazardous. Lots of opinions from the neighbors, who certainly have a right, and we respect their right to be heard. But there's a reason we have standards and regulations, reasons that we have professional licensed engineers doing the legwork. The parish has extensive, exhaustive standards that must be met. The process set forth by the parish is for a purpose. We've gone through that process. Your staff, your consultants on record saying that we conform. If we conform, then it becomes use by right. We are not denying that there aren't any traffic or drainage issues in the parish, but with all due respect, I think anyone can stand up here and randomly recite random statutes. I ask that you rely on your staff, your professionals that were here tonight, for clarity. Ask their opinion whether this project meets code. If the parish says it complies, and they do, then it ultimately becomes a legal question and a landowner property rights question. There must be standards met for denial based on health, safety, and welfare. Anything else would be considered arbitrary and capricious. We appreciate the opportunity for a rebuttal, and we are here to answer any questions. I just want the commission to know that we've done many developments in the parish. We have heard everything we've heard tonight, we have heard before. Our record speaks for itself. Ask these guys here. we've done over 1,000 home sites in Ascension Parish. Yes, you may have heard a couple of things that come up. We've addressed everything. So we ask that you rely on your people, your staff, and ask the question, does this comply or not? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Nasser, you're recognized.
So I have asked to be recognized for a point of personal privilege. One of the speakers, a lady who I have a lot of respect for, professionally and personally, made the claim that commissioners were speaking derogatorily of people who spoke at the public hearing last week. Now, why do I bring that up? I wasn't planning on saying these things, but since it came up, I am going to say them. Personally, I was ridiculed because I wore a hoodie to the last meeting. I was ridiculed because I wear a religious crucifix on my neck. It was stated that I looked like I just came out of a parking lot, stumbled out of a parking lot. You want to talk derogatory? It was stated that we're uneducated. Anyone that wants to speak with me about my education and my 50 years of professional qualifications, I'm available. I'm happy to speak with any of you. Directly relatable professional qualifications. The most egregious of what was said, and these things are all over Facebook, by the way, was that we're all on the take. We're all getting money under the table. That's the most egregious. Why does that bother me so much? Because I work. I work in an industry where ethics and reputation are extremely important. And I have a national role in that organization. And people all over the country that are in my industry read that. That's offensive, it's wrong, it got you nowhere with me. But I will say that I'm professional enough and mature enough that I can overlook that and not let it cloud my judgment. I don't know of a single commissioner that said anything derogatory about anyone that made public comments. And so for this group and for anyone else that may be seeing this meeting, keep that stuff to yourself. It's not worth being said. It doesn't demonstrate intelligence. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nasser. I just want to follow that. I was attacked by somebody here on their Facebook page who made an insinuation about a company that I work for that we cause flooding. That's disgusting. And you should be ashamed of yourself. And that's all I want to tell you. You really should be ashamed of yourself. Because the company I work for, my family company, we work hard to protect and help people in many parishes of Louisiana to protect them from future flooding. There's not a single person here who has experienced flooding like I have. And I'm very upset and disgusted by somebody even insinuating that I would be supportive of that. And I hope that that person comes and gives me an apology, because I sure as heck deserve one. Moving on. Some of the questions I have. Mr. Poche.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the original plat for Cottonfield. And you sent this to me by my request. And you also sent me the meetings on January 14th of the March 1994 meeting. And I'm just going to talk about it. It says subdivisions with 50 or more lots shall provide at least 2 access points to and from existing roadways. Such access points shall be located as far apart as practicable to best serve internal and external connectivity. At least 1 access point shall serve as the primary entry. Secondary access points shall connect to either another roadway or shall be dedicated as right-of-way extending to the property line for future connection. Any right-of-way dedicated for the purpose of future connection to an adjacent property may count toward meeting the required access points in this subsection C3. Now, 30-something years ago, we thought it was smart to have interconnectivity. There was a phase 2 for Cotton Field that they should have had connectivity to Bro Road, and it was never built. And so the only egress outside of Cotton Field was through Shiri Lane, or Shiri Avenue, Drive. That means a one-way in, one-way out for that lot subdivision, which, like somebody said, that would not be allowed right now. My suggestion, when I saw the original preliminary plat, is for safety, why don't we have something coming out of Cotton Field to have another egress outside of Cotton Field for health, safety, and welfare and protection for those people in Cotton Field? Just in case, just in case Woodland gets flooded and they may have a wreck at the end of Shiri Drive, somebody could get out of Cotton Field, just in case. Plus, and like, I forgot her name, she was the doctor, as she very eloquently pointed out, we have not required connectivity in probably 6 or 7 of the last subdivisions. And I tell you what, I was proud of the day that I voted to force connectivity into our code, because I've always supported connectivity. And I still support connectivity into any subdivision. I think it should be done. And I think part of the reasons we have so many issues in the parish with traffic is because of lack of connectivity over the past 30 to 40 years. And that's something that at a certain point we need to fix and we need to address moving forward. And it may not be good for older subdivisions, but we should find a way to make that happen. And this might not be that way, but there should be a way to make that happen. Like somebody else mentioned, in 1994, people in Woodland didn't want Cotton Field there. And they had all the same reasonings that y'all don't want another subdivision connecting, and I understand it. I believe you. I don't believe it's truly NIMBY, but I do understand it. And I respect your suggestions and I respect your opinions. What I also want to find out is, and this is where I'm getting to you, Mr. Poche, is how come my biggest pointed issue is I understand that when we have a traffic study that shows an intersection that is failing, no matter what, it has always been my understanding that we shall deny on a traffic intersection that's failing. I've read it from a brief that was sent to us. I've read it from another person. That's been my understanding, and then I have the parish telling me otherwise. So I want to know, why am I incorrect in that assumption that that if we have a failing traffic intersection, which we do, we have several, why is that considered approvable in code by the parish?
The paragraph that's written in is G2, and basically it states that a proposed development that is subject to the TIA requirements of this section shall be denied when the results of that required TIA demonstrate that the proposed development will overburden existing roadway system by causing a reduction in service. Stop. in the case where the level of service is below a D, in other words, if you have a subdivision that is seen to cause the drop in the level of service, at that point, if it's below a level D, then the mitigative efforts will bring it up to a D. And that's how that's interpreted.
And is it my understanding, am I correct in my understanding that they have roughly no way to bring it up to a D? Other than timing?
I can let Mr. Sherrill go because it looks like he wants to.
Okay.
All right, so just confirm what he said. There was a version back in the day of the ordinance that implied that if there's a nearby intersection D, no development. It was the whole the Great DeLon Estates debate. Whether it's your fault or not, no one should ever allow it to develop until everyone came in and fixed everything in the parish. That was an old, when this ordinance got updated in 2022, the specific words that got changed, it says, when the proposed development caused the overburden, they shall fix it. So this project did not overburden. You have existing intersections that are worse than a D. They didn't cause it. That's why they do an ordinance before and without them. They didn't cause it. It's an existing level service. So the purpose, the parish asked for the traffic consultant. It's almost asked them, help come up what the proposed solutions would be. So when we collect the traffic impact fees, which every house is required in this parish, when they talk to DOT about future improvements, when they have the possibility of a gas station come there, they have a study in place to say, wait a minute, we saw something. The ultimate solution is 2 turn lanes, change the signals, we've got to talk to DOT. That's the purpose of it. But this project did not cause the drop of level service at those intersections. That's the purpose of this ordinance. So you're not too wrong that there was a version of that, but I think in 2022, when they updated the ordinance, it got too construed to imply that anybody that did a 10-acre subdivision is in between 2 intersections, an airline highway or a 621 and interstate, you say no one can develop it on it. And they realized that's not the intent of the ordinance. If that's the case, just put a moratorium on the parish, which is not what the council wants. It's follow the ordinance, follow the traffic study, and this is how we identify a developer's responsibilities to offset their problems. So that's the intent. So when it came to the study, the ways that you would fix, should DOT want to fix 44 in Germany, it's additional turn lanes and it's additional signal time. And it's all going to have to be dictated by DOT when they want to do it, if they want to require right-of-way. But that's just what you would need to do as one solution, not what someone is required to do as an applicant. That's been, and that's what's in this ordinance, the traffic ordinance.
So they would be required to put a left and right turn lane
in front of their development.
In front of their development.
That is a required, now that is, when it comes to their required, they are addressing their required improvements on 44, which is a left and right turn lane into their development. And the reason why you do a left and right turn development is because your cars trying to get in and out are impacting people trying to go up and down 44. It's not as a courtesy to allow them to get to the development to help them. It's to get out of the way of all the through movement. So that's the purpose of the left and right turn lane. The DOT has looked at that concept. They have approved of that concept. There was another version that they presented. DOT said, we're not going to allow that. It was a safety thing. But this proposed solution, and it's not a cheap thing they got to do. They have to figure out how to widen the roadway on both sides, in each direction. So they got to do it in front of the entrance. So that's their required improvement, and that required improvement is meeting the level service requirements.
Okay. I'm going to let somebody else ask any other questions. Any other commissioners?
I mean, if nobody else, I have some.
Commissioner Nasser.
Okay, I have a few questions. I mean, and a few comments. The one about the two-way on 44 has already come up, and I believe that, unless I'm incorrect, the developer is also required to pay $450,000, $500,000 in traffic impact fees. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And those fees have to be used within the zone of this development to improve traffic.
There are three traffic impact fee zones. There's two on the east bank, one on the northern portion of the parish, and one on the southern portion of the parish, and then there's a third one on the west bank. And all funds collected in whichever one of those 3 zones, that's where those funds have to be used.
for traffic issues only.
Yes, for traffic improvement, yes.
Second thing, some of this stuff is just, it's not questions or anything, it's just observations, and I wanted to say that Councilman Vernato's comments, I thought, were very impactful. The emergency response, I did have a note about the emergency response. I served in a similar capacity in the 1990s in St. Charles Parish. We dealt with the same issue 50 years ago, 40 years ago, however long ago that was. I'm not good at math. But, you know, as Commissioner Schexnayder brought up, you know, there is a concern for safety and health. If an emergency vehicle can't get in, if a police car can't get in, if an EMS can't get in, if a fire truck can't get in because of, you know, a tree fell, a power line is down, as an accident, then you're negatively impacting the safety and health. And of course, we have to consider safety and health. And our ordinance do require multiple entrances or exits, access points. That's something we have to consider. You know, we've got to consider, our oath is to uphold the laws of the Parish of Ascension. So we have to consider not only technical data, which, by the way, is done by an engineer and reviewed by an engineer, professional engineers in the state of Louisiana, which is pretty well-regulated. The density, I have a question about the density. Someone made a statement that the density that is being allowed in this particular development exceeds what is allowed in our code.
Yeah, no, that's incorrect. There are two zoning categories. One is medium intensity residential, which allows 3 dwelling units to the acre. The other is mixed use 2, which is closer to Highway 44, that allows 4 dwelling units to the acre. You take the acreage of all of those and put them together, divided obviously by the number of homes that are proposed for the lot, and you get about 2.98 dwelling units per acre. There was also something mentioned about the removal of some of the property. Anything that can be accessed, everything talks about the recreation area. Everything in there accesses the recreation area. The roads have sidewalks, the pipelines are part of the park system as well as part of the open space. So there are no quote-unquote deductions in there that would reduce that density at all. With the calculations and the zoning categories that are there, that property would have been allowed to place 124 units on it. And there's 115, so it's a few less than what would have been allowed overall.
Okay, also, going back to another, go ahead if you want to hammer. No. Another comment that Chairman Schexnayder brought up went back to the approval of Cottonfield Avenue some 30 years ago. And in reviewing that plat, it does show a connection from that cul-de-sac into this property. So my question is, who owns that right-of-way that's shown on that?
I mean, whatever's in the right-of-way owns to the Parish of Ascension.
So the parish can do what they want with it? Okay. What is the parish requirement for roadway width?
Parish requirement for roadway width basically states that you cannot develop a subdivision on a road that is less than 20 feet. The road is being accessed by Highway 44. The connection to Cotton Field is a code-required connection for connectivity. The original section, however, the road may have changed over the years. When the original road was designed and constructed, the section was called for 2 10-foot lanes of 20-foot width. 4-foot shoulders on each side and a 60-foot right-of-way.
And so Cotton Field is 20-foot width?
According to the parish, it is. There may be some areas that are less than that. Over the years, I know that the road needs some work, but when it was originally designed and constructed, it had a 20-foot road section on it.
Okay, and then my last, well, maybe my second or last. It was brought up about the elevation having to be 2 feet above the BFE. Now, my understanding is that, and I may be wrong, so let me just say it's my understanding, is that for the National Flood Insurance Program, FEMA, you've got to put it 2 feet above BFE. Is that wrong? I'm looking at Sean because he's shaking his head. I need to know the truth.
FEMA requires you to follow your codes. In 2021, or 2019, the parish increased their freeboard requirement from 1 foot to 2 feet.
Okay.
So the finished floor elevation of the home has to be 2 foot above the base flood elevation.
And that will be for any development in the parish, and if the parish doesn't follow their own code, then the
It impacts the flood
NFIP
insurance
rating
program.
goes down, and
Right.
all the residents in the whole parish get an increase in their flood insurance, correct?
Yes.
So the 2 feet above BFE is right.
Now, let me
finish, I got
Okay.
one more thing to say, I think. I might have forgotten. Just in case anyone thinks that, personally, I'm insensitive to flooding. My home flooded 3 times with 3 feet of water each time. So I've had to live through this. I've had to recover from this multiple times. I understand the pain. So, we're not insensitive or unknowing of those type of impacts. Now I'm finished.
I just wanted to have a little point of clarification. If a point of property is in an X zone, they are not required to go 2 feet above BFE, even though it may be, quote unquote, less than 2 feet above BFE in an adjacent floodplain. So if, for example, let's take the RM zone section to the south of Cotton Field, that area is Zone X. So whatever property level at grade that is, they are not required to add fill to bring it up to a buildable level. Is that correct?
If I could clarify that, we, in November, December, we had requirements where all flood zones were required to get elevation certificates. You were either required to be 2 foot above the base flood elevation if you were in a flood zone, or 2 feet above the nearest adjacent base flood elevation if you were not in a flood zone. Those were changed, and the X zone was removed from that. But what you may not realize is that any piece of property that is touched by a flood zone has to meet the 2 foot freeboard requirement, even if part of it might be in the X zone. So in order for you not to have to meet that 2 foot freeboard requirement, the entirety of your property has to be out of the flood zone and in the X zone.
So would that just coincide with the MU2 portion, or does that count for the RM portion?
It's going to count for the whole thing because it's being designed as one subdivision.
Okay. So at what level would they have to bring in fill to what would be the height necessary to build a floor?
Generally speaking, I can't speak to what the developer would do, but generally in this situation, they'll get within a foot of where they have to be at the finished floor when they do their rough grading, which in this case would be about 17, which, if memory serves, the properties at the back end of Cotton Field are 17, 18, something like that.
Okay.
It's my last one.
Commissioner Nasser.
Yeah, it's my last. This, I think, is my last question. Okay, so there's been a lot of conversation about fill. You're gonna have to fill it this much, you have to fill it that much. So let's talk a little bit about where does that fill have to come from? Can you bring it in from the spillway in LaPlace?
I'll
Or do
answer
you have
that.
to, where do you have to bring it from, just
Answer
for
mine.
clarity?
The ordinance itself is very specific for subdivisions. You have to solve your problem on your site. You can't do an off-site fill. Like, we have the options for small, single-family homes that you can go get an off-site fill mitigation. Subdivisions are required, you have to solve the problem on site.
So
they're gonna offset all their fill that they're placing in the floodplain, offsetting it with these detention ponds and other areas that they're gonna shave down and make lower. So you're making more lower areas to offset your fill areas.
So there's
And it's
no-
all gonna be solved within the limits of this property.
So dumbing it down for myself, nobody's gonna bring any dirt in.
If
It's
they
all
bring
coming
it
from the
in,
site.
they have to offset that amount of fill on their property. So this property will not have a net increase of, or decrease of floodplain storage, what this site would provide, than as it does today.
Thank you.
And that's a requirement, and that's part of the detailed drainage study review, and so much we require them to do as-built surveys at the end of construction to make sure no one placed any more dirt than what they said in the plans, that they said was in the drainage study, that they said was at the preliminary plat. So we follow it all the way to the end.
Thank you, Sean.
Commissioner Kluwat.
Thank you. Sean, on the The deal with the two-way left turn lane not allowed by DOTD, can you expand upon that a little bit and why they wouldn't allow that, or?
I believe that what they allowed was it's a left in, right in.
Okay.
At the entrance. I believe when we say creating a two-way left, some people call it the twiddle, the bad names is call it the suicide lane. That would encourage people to take two movements to get out of this intersection. You go, get halfway, you stop and go it again. It actually creates a more unsafe situation than having that you can only go when you know you have complete access and they'll get across it. So that was DOTD's desire. This is their safest recommendation is what they're recommending.
Thank you.
Commissioner Miller?
All of the roads within the new development are built to the new subdivision standards.
Absolutely.
When they tie into Cottonfield, what is going to be the guidance there? Are they gonna have to bring Cottonfield up to, are we gonna consider that now a new standard, or are they gonna have to improve that too?
Transition the new standard to the existing. There's usually just an asphalt, so you have to lose the curb because we require curb and gutters to go to a non-curved roadway. So you'll see the pavement, that ours is almost 23 feet wide with curb and gutter, digging it down towards the 20 that he was talking about. So it'll be an asphalt transition.
Cottonfield will remain.
And you're allowed, and we have existing right-of-way in the subdivision. Should you need to do more widening pavement to make the cleanup look a little nicer,
okay,
they might have to put some culverts in to make the pavement wider, but that's part, we have a public right-of-way. So that's how that would happen.
And how are they going to incorporate the sidewalks that he referenced, the 4 foot along Cottonfield from, was it Bullweevil?
Anything that has to do with that is gonna have to be
Everything's
surveyed
in
and
the
verified to
service
be within the existing right-of-way.
Okay. Commissioner Villa?
Yes, so, first of all, to some of the other commissioners that mentioned about social media, I don't read it, I'm not on it, so if you heard it about me, it's probably not true, so just want to state that. Pretty boring otherwise. The traffic study, what is issued by the parish, the guidelines you give these firms to do the traffic studies, is there a radius area that you say within 3 mile radius of this project, or how extended do you?
It's based, the ordinance is written, first the staff has to agree on what level study you want to do. This one was the highest level, which is a threshold 2, requires a crash analysis, requires safety analysis, requires multiple things up and down the corridor. Counts have to be updated, can't do the counts when school's in session, all that. It's very, very strict. The way they do it is they assume 100 lots, 100 trips, and you go in each way in each direction. So it's based on the nearest major intersection is typically your endpoints. If you had a very large subdivision, the Pelican Points, the Keystones, and some of the bigger ones, Bouillon Crossings, they may actually say, let's go one more intersection down. But actually, the further you get away, the more that your development's trips get diluted. You know, imagine if you try to go to Airline Highway, we would get to where we talked about today is like this project did not cause really probably any impact if you're next to an airline highway or to Highway 42. So it's based on engineering judgment, and the parish has licensed PTOE. Transportation engineers has been in the profession between Danny Helps and Schuyler, incredible. And they're working with ITS, incredible firm. And that's their engineering. They specialize just in understanding what's the potential impact. You go too far away, you're just studying stuff and always concluding this project did not cause the development. This project didn't cause development because they're so small relative. And so they made a judgment call. If you go any further than these 2 major intersections, and we already seen it, because I already said they did not cause a drop in the intersection just at the nearest one. So you're gonna get the same conclusion if you went further down, up and down 44. So that's how it is determined. It's not based on a radius, it's based on where people would drive and major intersections.
Okay. And then for the drainage, the ponds on this project, those are responsibility of who?
All ponds per the ordinance is required to be privately maintained by the HOA, private landowner. It's not by the parish.
Okay.
Just like,
So-
that's always been,
Well,
yeah.
not always, because I know of some that's not the case. But here's my point with that. And it's directed at the parish, to be quite honest. How can a pond of this size with 122 homes charge enough HOA fees to mitigate problems with their drainage pond? But yet the parish is asking this to be part of the drainage study, that you have to have this size pond for this development. It's roughly 122 homes. The developer, you're not gonna keep the pond for life and maintain it, are you?
115.
115, regardless. It's under 200. I deal with expenses on ponds, and I know that the fees for those residents could get out of control if you have a future issue that you got to mitigate that.
Yeah, I mean, if I could answer that, I mean, you've got HOAs, obviously, that are going to be part of these things, but all of these are part of infrastructure development districts. They're going to have public roadways, and they're going to be taxes that are going to be, property taxes that are going to be placed anywhere from 5 to 15 mils on each property for just things such as that, such as, road repairs, overlay, crack repairs, anything to do with culverts, boxes, drainage, and things like that. Now, it doesn't necessarily cover the private pond itself as far as the maintenance, but the infrastructure, the drainage system, as far as the structures and all that, they will have funds available to do that.
Okay, well, I know there's other expenses that go with that too, and it falls on back to the residents. Let's see. Okay, I'm good.
Ms. Unitas?
Hi. I have some questions of the staff. We're going to just sort of establish some code requirements under UDC 17402A in regards to open space. Open space must be usable, accessible, and functional for recreation. Is that correct?
Functional recreation, but it also allows passive recreation as well.
Okay. And then under UDC 17-1420C, land encumbered by utility servitudes cannot be counted as open space. Is that also correct?
No, land, as long as it's not part of the recreation system.
And detention ponds can't be counted unless designated as usable amenities. Is that also correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So on this, we also have pipeline servitudes, one that's 50 feet and one that's 90 feet, that dissect the property in a couple of places. Can you confirm, I'm looking at the map, these are numbers that are on the map, that a 90-foot pipeline crosses the CA and CA2 and CA3 tracks? Okay. And the 50-foot pipeline servitude crosses the C5, the CA5, and runs directly through CA3.
Yeah,
Is that a utility servitude, or is that a pipeline as well?
that's the pipeline.
Under UDC 17420C, utility servitudes cannot be counted as usable open space, correct?
No, as long as it's part of the recreation system.
It's not what I'm seeing what the code says. Does the servitude restrict structures, plantings, gradings, or recreational improvements?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Does the servitude restrict structures, plantings, grading, and recreational improvements?
It's possible that it can, yes.
Does the servitude require 24 access for maintenance of emergency and emergency response?
It doesn't necessarily require 24-hour access, but it means they are accessible.
Regardless of the pipeline, whether it's above or underground, the servitude still restricts its use. Is that not correct?
Well, I'm sorry.
If the pipeline, so the pipeline area that's running through the green space and this upland park space, regardless of whether it's above or below the ground, the servitude still restricts the use. Is that correct?
The servitude restricts use as far as putting anything of any permanence on it. but it doesn't restrict people walking across the servitude.
Okay, everybody's talking about the density. Is it correct that under Table B, mixed use 2 is limited to 4 units per acre?
Yes.
And residential medium is limited to 3 units per acre?
Mhm.
And under code UDC 4020 and 17-5010, density must be calculated on buildable acreage excluding open space, drainage, servitudes, and rights-of-way. Is that not correct?
No, I mean, you can calculate it there, but the building is allowable for the entire property, anything that's allowed in the recreation, that's considered part of the recreation area, and is accessible by those in the neighborhood.
It's not what I'm reading. Okay. I'm seeing different things in the code. It says that they have to be restricted. The servitudes have to be fully active. Recreational use is still prohibited and limited over pipeline ground. The open space acreage, using the numbers on the map, is different. If you were to discount, even with the math using the aggregate, you still have to maintain, per the acreage in each zone, the density of the homes. It cannot be averaged across both plats of land that have different zone requirements.
No, I mean, yes, the way that I looked at it was I took the 4 units to the acre for the front part and the 3 units to the acre for the rear part, and that's how I came up with my calculation.
But the code says it can't be done that way. It says you can't spread it across, you can't take mixed use, mingle it with the residential medium, and come up with your average. They have to both stand on their own
I
merits
just told
because
you I
they're
didn't do
different.
that.
They are different zone requirements.
They are.
I don't believe the numbers support that. I don't agree that the open space was subtracted as it should have been, that the servitudes were taken into account as the open space. When I looked at numbers, according to the guidance and the directives, the usable acreage per those 2 zones were only about 10.85 acres in mixed use 2 and 26.95 acres. That makes the buildable, and subtracting those open spaces, it changes the density calculations to 4.73, which is over 4.
Sure.
Do
It
you
would,
agree?
definitely.
And the residential medium to 3.31, based on the 75 homes in residential medium and the 39 homes that are on this plat and the mixed use. That puts you well over the number of 4 and 3 for the respective zones.
I can tell you I didn't deduct anything, I didn't deduct anything out of the open space, because everything on that neighborhood is accessible.
It's not buildable, though.
It doesn't have to be buildable.
According to the regulation, it does have to be buildable. And
No,
open space
ma'am.
does not count.
Anything that's considered part of the recreation area, whether it's active or
There's what
passive
you want, but
recreation.
I saw what the code said.
Can be
It said
counted.
something different, sir. You have to decide whether it's what you want and how you interpret it. Must and shall are words that are not negotiable.
No,
Required is not negotiable.
that's how I calculate it every time I do it.
Well, maybe your math's been wrong, sir.
Hold on. Well, no, she's got the floor. She's waited patiently.
Density. The traffic survey, I understand the traffic survey that's in this packet was done before the connector road was considered. There was a connector road that was considered in the January meeting. According to the traffic analysis must evaluate all affected roadways and intersections, correct?
Yes, it says that, and I can tell you that when.
Sir, you
this-
answered the question. I have a question. It must analyze the level of service, queuing, turning movements, and safe access, correct? That's in all the roads affected, not just the major roads, not just the state routes. Even if we were considering Cotton Field in January, somebody should have gone back and done even just an additional survey to say how would that affect traffic through the other roads, and then how it affects the ultimate goal, the ultimate road access on Causey. That wasn't done. It wasn't done for this either. You had a month. Even if it stayed as an access point in Cotton Field, you still had a month to do a survey to see how it would affect the community around it and the safety of the people on the roads. So I think that based on their own plat and open space, the math doesn't reconcile because open space wasn't even considered except for as the total acreage to do the math and come up with numbers. You crunch densities, you cross lines with densities in the two zones. I have issue with that. It's in direct violation because it's buildable acreage that matters.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Commissioner Miller.
He mentioned not needing a waiver or a variance, but if they put the sidewalk in the public servitude, didn't we have to approve that last time they had to have a waiver?
No, the section has been changed to allow that, so we don't have to request a
So
waiver
now
anymore.
I remember we made some ordinance changes, but we put it where now if they want to put the sidewalk in the private, the public servitude, it can be done so without.
What that would be
Yes.
is in
It can be done without a waiver.
their eventual one, but what he's talking about is adding in another one.
Previously, we've had to go back and allow grant them the variance to put the sidewalk in the public servitude, correct?
No, we used to have to do that, but we changed the typical road section. We do allow sidewalks within the public right-of-way now.
But Cotton Field is pre-existing, so would they have to do, in order to satisfy the requirement in Cotton Field, would a variance be needed?
No, I mean, it's the parish's right-of-way. If there's enough room to put a sidewalk in it, there would be no reason to disallow that.
Okay. Commissioner Nasser.
I didn't really understand the answer when Ms. Unitas was bringing up something about the servitude and the green space and not being able to be used or something, and you responded something about the recreational system. I didn't understand it.
Anything that's considered to be part of the recreation system that's used, whether it be active or passive recreation, is allowed to be used in the calculable area for the density of the subdivision.
So it has to be recognized as a part of the parish recreational system?
No, of the
Just-
neighborhood, anything that's accessible. If it's not part of the recreation system, if it is for some reason specifically excluded, which someone would be crazy to do, then it can be counted as used in the density calculations.
Okay, so it's not something that requires an official designation?
No.
It just is?
Right.
So, okay. That clarifies it for me.
I just had a few other comments that I wanted to ask. We had a gentleman, I think it was a gentleman, sorry, a few things all ran together, but we've had some emails. We had somebody actually speak about the adequacy of schools. From my understanding, how are we, as this commission, allowed to consider school limits, school adequacies in our decision?
All I can tell you is that whenever we have a pre-application meeting and we begin to discuss these neighborhoods, the school board is always invited. Sometimes they come and sometimes they don't. And if there is something that is necessary as far as an evaluation of the schools and as far as the amount of children in the schools and all of that, then the parish council can certainly put something like that in the ordinance for consideration.
So we have no authority to consider, let's just call Sugar Mill property, Sugar Mill primary. If it was deemed to be overcrowded, we have no consideration, we have no ability to have that consideration?
As far as I understand it, you're free to make a decision based on whatever information you have.
Really?
If you have, yeah, I mean, if you feel like something is gonna overburden something, I mean, any information that comes up that is a consideration of the community, then I would say that you have the right to vote your conscience and do what you need to do.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
Check United. Michelle.
Please. Ms. Unitas?
I did have one last kind of comment on, I know that there's the consideration of putting that turn lane, that left turn lane in from 44 into the development, but I also know there's a resident here on Burtville Road talking about how it was a major cut through. Where this entrance is going is creating a very similar situation to a development that we denied on 74 at Fauché Road for a very similar intersection where they wanted to put 75 houses on the back of an already existing community. It's going to come up and it makes this weird little offset angle. It's not a true intersection. So what's going to happen when the guys coming off of Burtville Road turning left are going to meet the people turning left out of the development? We're going to have this weird extra just conglomeration of cars in the middle of the two already overburdened intersections at either end of Germany and Causey. So that is a concern. Not to mention safety, and somebody mentioned the level of this traffic analysis being a level 2, and which also included crash analysis numbers. I didn't see it in my traffic survey. Where are they?
Anything else? Commissioner Nasser.
I almost forgot my question. I'm gonna ask another commissioner a question, because I think that.
Which one?
The one that just said which one? Just leaning back in his chair to try to get out of my line of sight. All the commissioners would probably remember this, but you would remember it more than anyone, I believe. There was a development that came before us that was related to Pelican Point, a new phase or something like that. And there was a lot of conversation about maintenance, and I don't know if it was pipelines and ponds, and there was a lot of issue from the residents about that. And I think recreation in part was what they talked about, that they weren't able to use those for recreational areas, either because of maintenance or something. Do you have something to say about that? I'm trying to just remember it.
So, I will respond as a resident and representative in that meeting of Pelican Point. I was not.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, you weren't.
I abstained.
I don't know if you can talk about that. Does anyone else want to talk about that?
Sean had a pretty good explanation of that. That was at Pelican Point where we had to resurvey the ponds and the pipelines.
No, that was for drainage. That's different.
There was a development, and I don't remember if we approved it or denied it, but it was maybe 6 months ago or something. It came before us.
Talking you mic.
Oh, it was maybe 6 months or so ago, and there were issues at the existing Pelican Point with the ability to use these areas for recreation. I don't know if it was because of improper maintenance or what it was. I'm trying to remember what that was.
Yeah, it's mainly due to, a lot of times, some of these subdivisions, a lot of the pipelines are laid across common property lines. And so when you lay it out, it's some people's houses. You can't make it, it's probably not a servitude, it's dedicated right away. You just can't have it part of your property. back in the day, the way they did land development subdivisions, they would say, hey, I can't make it part of the residential lot. We'll just call it green space, submit a green space requirements. But no one could get to it without going through someone's backyard or front yard. Or it was so, because you can't get to it, it had a ditch into it, you never could maintain it. Therefore, you can't do what we traditionally think as a park feature. So that's why a key part of our ordinance says if you have a pipeline servitude, and you want to call it part of your park system in your subdivision, it needs to be accessible, which people, as you'll see on here, there's actually sidewalks or trails on top of some of these pipelines here. You can actually use it, because if you can't get to it, guess what, you can't maintain it. If you can't maintain it, you're not going to use it. So that's part of the accessibility part.
Okay, so in that prior consideration, it was an accessibility issue.
Inaccessibility, it's the location, you couldn't get to it, it's hard to maintain, and no one, you can't, in our spirit of what we call parks, we just wouldn't let, didn't meet that requirement.
Okay, and so in this particular case, it is all accessible?
Yes, between is accessible. I actually see some trails and stuff on this one track, CAB, and it's wide open towards the other lakes. So yes, all of this is accessible. As part of what Eric reviews, make sure someone's not tucking in a wasted space in the back of development, and they call it green space, but no one can ever get to that defeats the purpose.
Okay, thank you.
So, one comment kind of related to that. Speaking as a commissioner, I just think the parish needs to rethink how we build our codes, how we do our zonings, okay? I'm not faulting the residents' claim, I'm not faulting the developers' claims, because based on the codes and things, they are trying to comply with that. However, it does create an issue where we have private servitudes that are to be maintained, parks and ponds to be maintained by an HOA, but yet the parish can have these tax districts that charge the residents the extra property tax, and it goes into a fund for that, and the parish has no responsibility, but we're putting all these guidelines on the developer and the future expenses on the residents that are already paying into a system. And those residents may not have, maybe not experienced or professional to give the guidelines on the type of pond you need, all those kind of things. But I guess my point is, these traffic studies fail, okay? They get failing grades. But we have the developer spending $500,000 before he puts the first shovel in the ground. And we're not doing anything as a parish to improve our infrastructure before we allow for development. So. That's it.
Mr. Kluwat.
Just to kind of echo what Mr. Villa said, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done with the traffic studies, that we are putting the cart before the horse here. And we know that we're behind. We were behind years ago when it came to infrastructure. This isn't just happening now. This happened a long time ago. And I think there's a lot of talks that have to happen with DOTD, because it's always, well, that's DOTD. We got to get word from DOTD and things. And just with this one, there's a lot of work that has to be done on this traffic study to make these intersections right and to make this work for me. That's all.
Okay. Anything further from the commission? Commissioner Nasser.
I think we should definitely, we're going to do a voice vote on this, I'm sure. Is there any reason to consider a roll call, or were you going to do our standard voice vote?
It'll be depending on what the motion is.
Okay.
So at this point, Chair would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to
Hold on.
deny the preliminary plat
Please state why.
for the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and the code, I think what does not comply with the code in our ordinances, our ULDC.
Okay, we have a motion to deny based on the health, safety, and welfare and the dissatisfaction of the code by Commissioner Miller. We have a second by Commissioner Nasser, and please state your reasoning.
My reasoning, is my mic on? Yeah, my reasoning is similar to Commissioner Miller, and also I stated in some questions and some observations earlier, some items that I had issue with. I'm not an attorney. I have heard enough citations of code from the public, from the staff, from the commission, and I just feel that, as Mr. Kluwat said a second ago, it needs more work. This is a very, very hard decision, I think, for all of us, but I just think it needs more work.
Okay, at this time, we have a motion and a second. That motion is to recommend, is to deny. Is there any further discussion? Okay,
Would you state what a yay and what supports the
about
denial,
to.
please?
At this time, we're going to take a roll call vote. A vote of approval is the agreement with the denial. So if you vote yay in your approval, you are agreeing to the denial motion.
Very good.
If you vote approve for that denial, you need to state your reasoning. We will do a roll call vote and go down the line, and then afterward, the vote will be, the sum will be tallied up.
Chairman?
Yes.
We would like y'all to use the voting machine as well, just so the record's clear.
Okay, not a problem. Let's open up the voting machine.
So just clarify.
So for clarification, we will open up the voting machine. The motion to denial is on the table. A yes is an approval for the denial. A no is a denial of the denial.
A yay is you are agreeing with me
Yes.
to deny.
Yeah.
Correct.
Deny it, you vote yes.
Yes, a yay is you agree
Yes.
with me to deny.
And then on anything like
All
that. Okay. Okay. That motion passes, but for information, please hold on. For information, we'll start with Commissioner Unitas and then go down the line and explain your reasoning.
Okay, my reasoning is that based on the preliminary plat as it stands and all the numbers, that the submission and the requirements do not meet the Unified Land Development Code, and they haven't demonstrated compliance with multiple mandatory provisions to include open space requirements under UDC 17-4020, under UDC 17-4020C, land within utility servitudes can't be counted as usable open space unless the pipeline, whether the pipeline's above or below ground, detention ponds also included without meeting amenity requirements of the same section. Second application, the application doesn't meet the density requirements per Table B, UDC 17-4020 and UDC 17-5010. When the density is calculated correctly on buildable acreage, excluding open space, drainage, servitudes as required, both MU2 and RM districts exceed their maximum allowable density. Doesn't meet traffic requirements studies under UDC 17-4060. It doesn't evaluate all the affected roadways and intersections, including the connector roads, whether it was Bull Weevil or it was the original Cotton Field. There was time to do a supplementary traffic study that affected those areas. In the internal northern network, Causey Road. It was not updated to reflect that road connection addition. Because they haven't demonstrated compliance with UDC 17-4020, UDC 17-5010, Table B, or UDC 17-4060, the preliminary plat does not meet the standards for approval, and that's why I move to deny.
Okay. Commissioner Villa.
I move to deny because of the potential impact to the residents due to drainage and traffic.
Okay. Commissioner Kluwat.
My position for denial is that due to the safety of the traffic impact study, that there's a lot that's lacking in it, and whether it's the subdivision that brought it about, there's a lot that needs to be done with this traffic study. These intersections are failing, and that's my decision for denial.
Okay. That motion passes.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, yep. And we have a motion to adjourn.
I didn't know your mic was on. You should.